The man turned to Xenos. He said the man had done absolutely nothing lately, and then, they didn't need him anymore. The boy questioned in surprise. He told Aston that he had been helping them all along. The one said that it was his job anyway. He said all the hero did was stand by. He said they wouldn't need his healing magic anymore, that they were stronger now, and no one could hurt them. The hero replied that if anyone got hurt, he would immediately use a healing spell and the defense magic would make them invulnerable, that in addition, he used magic that enhanced their abilities. Aston told him to stop noodling around with them. He said that healing magic required casting, and if you wound Xenos, it would be interrupted. He said there was nothing the hero could do. He said that they would now work with royalty and aristocrats. The man added that they would not like having a slum guy with them. The hero shouted for the man to wait. The man said they were partners. Aston laughed, surprised that Xenos still didn't get it. He said they were just using him. He said the hero was from the slums, so he was happy to be fed and accepted, and if he was in danger, he wouldn't lift a finger. Xenos thought for a moment. He realized that he had no place here to begin with. He thought about the class divisions in this country, such as the royal family, the aristocrats, the townspeople, and the poor. He was used to humiliation, so he stayed in a modest room, though he was rather glad he had a room at all. Nevertheless, the hero continued to hone his skills. This was because he was happy to help Aston, who had taken him from the slums. He thought about the fact that even if he had nowhere to learn magic, he learned on his own, that even when he was mistreated, he tried his best, that he did his best. Aston said that this was it, that Xenos was no longer with them, throwing a coin on the ground. The hero asked what it was. The man said that it must be the first time he had ever seen such a thing, that it was a gold coin, that it was a payment that a poor man like him Xenos would never earn in a lifetime. He asked the hero if he had learned everything, and he said that he couldn't believe that there was such a lowlife in their crew. Aston told him not to dare tell anyone that. The hero realized what it meant. It was hush money. He agreed. Aston said the conversation was over and ordered the hero to get the hell out. The team really didn't understand to whom they owed their power. Even Xenos himself did not yet know how this parting would turn out for him. He thought about what would happen now. He said that even if he continues to be an adventurer, he is only a poor man and cannot register with the guild. Suddenly, the hero heard someone shouting. The guy asked the others what they were thinking shooting at her, calling them idiots. He shouted that he wanted to make money out of it. The others apologized. They said she was always running away. Xenos saw the girl with an arrow in her back lying on the road. One of the boys said she was going to die anyway. The other shouted, asking how he could have even shot the elf girl. Geo turned to them. He asked if they had shot the child. The boy interjected. The other said it was his slave girl. The guy shouted that the hero had better go his way. The one said he would buy the girl. The lads were very surprised. Xenos held out a gold coin and asked if that much would be enough. The lad shouted that the one was stupid, but the other told him to shut up. He took the coin and said that now the elf girl was a hero. As they left, they talked about how since she was going to die anyway, at least they would make money. The hero turned to the girl and asked how she was. She raised her head a little. He took hold of the arrow and with a quick movement pulled it out. Xenos brought his hand to the girl's back and began to use healing. The girl asked if she was dead. The hero told her not to worry, that he would help her. The Ta replied that there was no point. Xenos said that the wound was already healed and asked if she could speak. The elven woman was very surprised. She stood up and looked around in surprise. Looking at her back, she cried out that it no longer hurt, that there was no blood. The hero said he was a healer. He said that he had taken out the arrow and healed her wound. The girl replied that the wound was really gone, that she thought she was going to die. Xenos said that she was exaggerating the significance of that scratch. She cried out, asking if he was joking about the scratch. The girl hesitated. The hero asked her what was the matter. She lowered her gaze. She cried, and looking into the hero's eyes, thanked him. As he looked at her, he thought about how it had been a long time since he had been thanked for healing. He remembered how he had trained with sweat and blood, but the team didn't believe him when he used magic without casting it right in front of them. He didn't even have time to explain. The hero thought they treated him terribly. He asked the girl if those men were slave traders. The girl replied that they were, and that they had caught her yesterday. She told him that she had a chance to escape, but that they had caught up with her. Xenos asked her what her name was. The girl replied that she was Lily. She asked about the money. The hero asked if she meant the gold coin he had paid them. He told her not to worry and that he got it for nothing. Lily asked what his name was. He said to call him Xenos. The girl asked if he was a famous healer. The hero replied that healing magic is individual and not many people know about it. He said that being captured by slave traders was a terrible thing and asked where Lily lived. He offered to take her. The girl lowered her head and said she had no home. Xenos thought about the fact that she reminded him of him in the past. He didn't understand why an elven child was living on the streets. He told Lily that they had a problem then. The two of them glanced over at each other. The hero suggested that they get something to eat first. They arrived at the establishment. Lily ate and marveled. She asked Xenos if he would eat. He replied that he was not hungry and that he would drink water. The girl asked if he was working somewhere. The hero said that honestly, he was kicked off the team and had nowhere to go. Lily said with a smile that but they are together. He said there was nothing he could do and he had to look for a temporary job. Suddenly someone entered the establishment with a shout. A guy, holding his arm, asked for water. Xenos, seeing the scales on the guy's cheeks, realized he was a lizard man. He approached and asked what had happened to his arm. The lad replied that nothing. The hero noticed burn marks and bullet wounds. He asked if it was a magic gun. The guy replied that he had been caught off guard. He said he knew he couldn't use his arm anymore, and he would at least like the pain to go away. Xenos told the man not to exaggerate, that he could not say that the wound was small, but it would heal quickly. The boy questioned in surprise what the man had said. The hero brought his hand to the guy's injured arm and used healing. The guy looked at it in surprise. After the healing, his hand looked completely healthy. The guy asked in surprise what Xenos had just done, and who the guy even was. Lily intervened, cheerfully saying that Xenos was a great healer. The boy said that since that one was such a good healer, he would remember him. He put something in the hero's hand. The guy was embarrassed. Lily asked him what was the matter. The hero replied that it was nothing. He unclenched the hand in which the coins were. He said that if they eat here, they should pay, and the healer gets money for curing wounds. The girl said that's the way it should be, isn't it? He agreed. He asked the girl to remember what she said when he saved her life, that she thanked him. Lily replied that it was because she was glad. Xenos had made up his mind. He decided that he would heal people. He said that he could not, however, get a license and open his own business because he was poor and would be an underground healer. Lily got excited and shouted that she would help. The hero was surprised. She said he was her master now and she would follow him. Xenos agreed and said it was only until they found her a home. The girl shrieked with joy. The hero thought about the fact that from now on he would live the life he wanted, that he would do what he could do and get paid for it. He decided that if he could make someone happy, he was not living in vain. The heroes walked between abandoned, ruined houses. Lily asked if Xenos wanted to open a hospital here, adding that there weren't even people here. The one replied that it was true that he wanted to hear. He said that there had been an epidemic here in the past and the town had been abandoned, that they couldn't do business in densely populated towns without a license. Looking at one of the houses, he suggested we go inside. Lily looked scared. The hero asked what was the matter. She asked what if there were ghosts in there. She said that where many people die, monsters are born, and suddenly there is a wraith dwelling there. Xenos interjected. The girl said that she was the highest demon in the undead hierarchy, that she looked like a human but could kill with a simple touch. They went into the house. The girl shouted about the light and a glowing orb appeared in her hands. The hero was surprised. He asked if she could use magic. Lily replied that she did and that it was easy. They looked around the house. Xenos said that it was not a bad place and would need to be renovated. Suddenly, Lily noticed something. A loud sound was heard. A girl appeared in front of her, floating in the air. Lily shouted, "Raze is here." The hero said that it was as if he knew that someone was already here, that this building was the most well-kept in the neighborhood. The girl shouted at him to come to his senses. Raze noticed the smell of life. She approached the hero and asked him to give her his life by grabbing his head. Lily shouted to him. He directed healing at the ghost. The blow struck the girl's stomach, and she was thrown back. She was very surprised. Xenos asked if that was Ray's. He said that if it was, he had killed at least 100 of his kind in the depths of the underground labyrinth. Lily asked in surprise. The hero apologized to the ghost and said that they had taken a fancy to the building. He said they would try not to disturb it, so he asked them to share the place with them. Ray's asked what he was about and started talking about his life again. Xenos MANHWA used healing, which made the ghost very scared. The hero apologized and said that she had attacked him herself. He told her not to take it personally. Ray's repeated that she would not forgive. She said he was the first person to insult her, Camille, the queen of ghosts. She raised her hand up and ordered her subordinates to rise up. She ordered them to kill the hero, calling him a fool. A multitude of ghosts appeared around her. Lily turned to Xenos. The latter, looking at the ghosts, said that he wanted to discuss things quietly after all. The ghosts swarmed at the heroes from all sides. Xenos raised his hand and made a magic circle, protecting himself and Lily. He used a great healing. All the ghosts began to disappear. Camille was shocked. She looked at the hero and asked what he was. The one said he was a humble underground healer. Ray's asked back in surprise. He said he was sorry and that they would only need an office and a bedroom. Camille was confused. She said he could use the ground floor, but the first floor was hers. Toth agreed and said he appreciated her help. He cheerfully told Lily that they had made it. The girl replied that she didn't even know whether to cry or laugh. Several days passed. Lily, sighing, sat at the table. She told Xenos that she was bored. He replied that he was able to clean up quickly, that he would renovate the room and make it more like a study. The girl said that it had been a few days and still no customers. She asked if she should go out and get someone. The hero replied that if she did so, she would attract the attention of the royal asylum. Lily said that since no one would come to them that way. Xenos told her not to worry and that someone would surely come to them soon. Suddenly someone came in and asked if this was Xenos' healing center. The girl was surprised that someone had really come to see them. She said hello, looking carefully at the boy. In front of them stood the very same lizard man. The girl said he was someone she knew. The hero said that the one had finally arrived. The boy asked in surprise if Xenos knew he was coming. The hero replied that his hand had been burned by a magic pistol, and that one was no ordinary civilian. He said that people like him have circumstances that do not allow them to attend ordinary healing centers. He said that's where the underground healer comes in. The guy said it took him a while to find him, and that this time he came with his sister. A girl came into the house. She said that her brother had told her that the hero was a great healer. She came close to him and asked if he would examine her. Xenos replied that he did not know if he was really that good, but agreed. The girl sat down in a chair across from him. She told him that she had been shot with a gun, and he could see the aftermath for himself. Her arm was in a terrible condition. She said that it was a magical weapon whose bullets were impregnated with poison, and left in the body, the bullet began to rot. The hero asked if she realized this just by looking at the wound. She replied that she did because she had been experimented on before. Xenos replied that it was just horrible. The girl asked if he would cure her. He said that if the wound was not so long ago, she could take the bullet out and everything would heal. She replied that it had been 3 days. He said that in that case, her arm was on the verge of death and it was better to cut it off before the poison spread through her body. The girl replied that she understood. She asked how much it would cost. The hero replied that 1,000,000 won. The boy shouted in surprise. He shouted, asking if Xenos was in his right mind and asking for 1,000,000 won just for cutting off her hand. The nurse asked San to calm down. She said it was a huge sum and asked if the hero knew that on Storm Sophia. Thoth asked if she was the head of the lizard bandits. Sophia said that 1,000,000 van for such an operation was too much, and asked her to give her at least one reason why she should pay so much. The probe put a knife to the hero's throat, threatening him. The guy asked who said he was going to cut it off. The fellow was surprised. Xenos said it would be a pointless operation if it didn't regenerate afterwards. He said that it was rather tedious, that it didn't matter who his patient was, whether it was a laborer or the king himself, that everyone had to pay for other people's labor, that he wouldn't work for free. Sophia asked in surprise what he meant, and what it meant to regenerate a hand. She said it was the first time she had heard of such a thing. The hero asked in surprise if she was joking, and if other healers could do the same. The girl laid down on the bed. Xenos said they would start. With magic, he created a scalpel in his hand. He was asked what it was. The hero replied that it was a magical knife, that it was sterile, and good at cutting through tissue. He said that also the scalpel automatically relieves pain in the area he is operating on, and he will cut off the rotten part. Zond and Lily watched the operation. Zophia's arm was cut off. The hero said he would now regenerate it. He held up his hands and said that the bleeding was prevented by protective magic. He said that with repeated use of regeneration magic, wounds regenerate faster. Suddenly the girl's arm began to regrow, muscle appearing behind the bones. Zophia was shocked. Finally, she raised her new arm. Xenos said cheerfully that he was finished, and had healed the girl. Probe said it was simply amazing. The girl said it was the first time she had met such a healer. The brother said it was amazing as he suddenly saw Rays looking out of the first floor. He shouted, asking who else it was. The hero replied that it was their neighbor, Ray's ghost. The boy was surprised. He was shocked that Rays was his neighbor. Camille said she wanted him to fail, wanted to take his life. Probe asked why she was being mean. Xenos replied that she was a good person at heart. Guy replied that something is different. Sophia looked at them. She said, laughing, that the doctor was simply amazing, and equally interesting. She said she liked him, and they would visit him again. The hero agreed and asked her to remember to pay. Little by little the name of the unknown healer was beginning to spread. Clients came to him and thanked him for his treatment. Lily prepared tea for the hero. He thanked her for her work. Seeing Camille, he asked if she was drinking with them again. She replied that of course. Lily told Xenos that he had been very busy lately. He replied that after visiting Zofia, the lizard men from the Thieves Guild started coming here all the time, that he helps if they pay. The girl asked why lizard men get hurt so often. The hero replied that perhaps they are in conflict with someone. He said that in the slums where bandit camps are usually located, there are 3 known factions of non-humans, and some of them are the lizard men led by Zofia, and the others are a tribe of orcs whose bodies are as strong as steel. He was about to say about the latter tribe when suddenly a loud sound was heard. Xenos asked who was here. Wolves had entered the house. The wolf girl said who would have thought a healing center in such and such a place. She turned to the hero and asked if he was the underground healer Xenos. The latter replied that he was, and asked who she was. The girl replied that she was Linga, leader of the werewolves. Xenos said that he had heard of her, that they all come here one by one. He asked what the head of one of the 3 factions wanted. Linga said she knew it was after hours. The hero said that he would look around if it was an emergency. The girl reached out her hand to him. She said the emergency is him, Xenos. The girl said that no matter how much they fought Sophia's subordinates, they were getting livelier and livelier each time, which she thought was quite strange. She said that it seems the hero is an excellent healer, and she came to kill him. The one asked if he would come out to talk. Linga replied that if he died, there would be no one to heal Zophia's subordinates, and then she could defeat her. The girl swung her axe at him. She struck a blow, but nothing happened. Linga was shocked. She couldn't believe that he didn't have a scratch on him. Xenos said he had covered the body with protective magic. The girl turned to the wolves, asking for help. They, all together, howled at the hero. He remained unharmed despite the many blows. He asked if it would not be enough. Linga shouted that it could not be. She ordered the wolves to destroy the building. Those agreed to do so. Xenos said that he did not advise them to do so. The girls shouted that since they couldn't kill him, they would destroy the healing facility, that he shouldn't underestimate the power of the wolves. Suddenly everyone stopped. Linga asked why it was suddenly cold. Camille appeared in front of them. The wolves were frightened. They shouted that it was Rays. The hero said that he had as known she would appear, and that he and she were neighbors. Camille asked how dare she attack her fortress. Xenos stopped her. He said he understood her feelings, but his office saves lives, not takes them. Ta was surprised. She exhaled, and agreed. The hero thanked her for not getting angry. Camille replied that it was all for the sake of her fortress, and besides, it was cozier here now than before. Rays headed back to the first floor. Linga turned to the wolves and asked if they had heard what the ghost had said. Those looked up in surprise. The girl turned to Xenos. She fell to her feet and begged his forgiveness. The hero was very much surprised. The girl shouted that they didn't know he was the master of rays. The man tried to disagree, but Lingus shouted for everyone to bow to him vividly. The wolves followed the order and said that they were expressing their sincerity to Mr. Xenos, the master of Reese, the supreme being. The hero tensed. He asked him to listen. An orc came in and asked the hero if he was the underground healer Xenos. He said he was here at the request of the orc chieftain, Levi. The hero said he knew they would come. Lily interjected in surprise. Xenos said the lizard men came, the werewolves came, and now here come the orcs. The hero asked if it meant the head was sick if he didn't come in person. The orc replied that the head could not move. Xenos said that if the patient could not come, he would have to visit him himself. After saying goodbye to Lily, he set off. An orc showed him the way. The hero found himself in front of the head of the orcs. The orc turned to Levi and said that he had brought her the underground healer Xenos. The girl said that was excellent. She introduced herself. The hero asked how she knew about him. Levi replied that here in the underworld, in the slums, he was a celebrity. The man was surprised. The girl said that the lizard men and werewolves said that Xenos was an excellent healer, but they didn't want to draw his attention to the orcs, so they wouldn't say anything. She said that's how she found out about it. The girl asked if he knew the reason why she couldn't move. The hero hesitated for a moment. He reached out his hand and used an examination. Levi asked him what he was doing. The man replied that there were no injuries on the body, so he was checking from the inside. He said there was a hard lump in his stomach and a feeling of magic power. He asked if it was a magical stone. The girl replied that it was, that she had an extremely powerful magical explosion stone in her stomach. The hero thought about the fact that magic stones are crystals full of magical elements, that they have effects similar to magic, that among them explosion is the highest class of magic stones used for attack. He asked Levi if someone had fed it to her. The girl replied that she had eaten it by accident, mistaking it for a rice ball. Xenos asked if she had no brains. Levi said that, as he could see, she was a glutton. The hero said that it would sound ridiculous, but if left to its own devices, one day the stone would come out naturally. The girl disagreed. She said that she had accidentally chewed some of the outer shell. Xenos was very surprised. Levi said there wasn't much time and any wrong move could cause it to explode. The hero asked if that was why she couldn't move. She was surrounded by orcs screaming that they would die with her, die all together. She said she should take them far away. The hero asked what about him. Levi replied that they would donate all their wealth to him. He was surprised. The girl threw him a key. She said that if the stone exploded, the orc tribe would be finished, and it would be better to give everything there was to him than to let the bandits rob them. She said she had heard he kept neutral and examined the children for free, and she loved children too. The orcs shouted that they would follow her. Xenos asked how long ago she ate the stone. Levi replied that it was recently. She said that she had sent her subordinates to him immediately after she swallowed it, and when he used the spell, the stone was still in her stomach. The hero created a magical scalpel. He approached the girl and told her not to move. He began to cut into her stomach and told her not to bite her tongue. Levi was in shock. Xenos said here it is. He said he found the magical explosion stone. The orcs screamed, scared for Levi. They asked the doctor what he was doing to her. They shouted for him to get away from her. The hero showed them the blast stone in his hand. The orcs were shocked. The girl asked what he had just done. Xenos replied that he had cut her stomach and pulled out the stone and then closed the wound. Levi was surprised because of his ability to do something like that. She shouted for him to be more careful and that one wrong move could cause the stone to explode. Xenos agreed. He took hold of the stone. The hero squeezed the stone hard in his hands. A loud explosion was heard. Everyone was frightened and squeezed their eyes shut. When they opened their eyes, they were surprised that nothing had happened. The goblins could not believe that Xenos was alive. The one said that that was it. He said he had covered his palms with protective magic, that it had hurt a little, but he had healed everything. He apologized for interrupting such an emotional scene, but he would return the key to the treasury. The hero handed the key to the girl. She said he would silently take the treasure. Xenos said that he demanded payment for his labor, and the operation was not worth a fortune. Levi exhaled. She put her arm around the hero and said with a laugh that she liked him. She said that he was a real benefactor to the orcs, and if anything happened, they would come to him at once. The one replied that this was something he didn't really want to do. The girl said she was hungry and asked if Xenos wanted rice balls. He replied that he would no longer help her. Lily sulked while sitting at the table. The hero asked her if something had happened. She replied that Sophia, Linga, and Levi had been coming over a lot lately. Xenos said that indeed they come even when they are not wounded. Lily said that Sophia comes on Mondays, Linga on Wednesdays, and Levi on Fridays. She asked the hero if he knew why they came. The one replied that they have so much free time. The girl disagreed. She said that such important people must be very busy. Xenos replied that he didn't understand then. Lily had an assumption. Suddenly Camille appeared. She said that they had fallen in love. She said she thought they were in love with Xenos. He replied that this was nonsense, and he was after all an underground healer without a license. Reyes said that you can't hide anything from her, that they have a look of love in their eyes, and she's been around for 300 years. Lily said she was worried now. The hero asked why. She replied that soon these three girls would fight over him and have a massive war. Xenos replied that it was just ridiculous. Camilla told Lily that she should do her best to entertain her. She said that women in love are beautiful. The girl thanked her. The ghost headed upstairs again. Xenos asked and why she had come. On Monday, Sophia came in and told the doctor that she was thinking of making war with the other clans. She asked if he would come over to her side. He was surprised. On Wednesday, Linga came in. She shouted that she had decided to do away with them and wanted him on her side. On Friday, Levi came in. She said she would destroy them. Xenos asked to wait. Camille said they would make war. The hero was confused. The ghost told him that it looked like someone would die for him. Thoth said stop talking such nonsense. He asked Lily why she was sulking. He said he didn't understand what was going on. The three girls' battle for the underground healer is about to begin. The clans have gathered. Sophia said that today she would show who was the strongest here. Linga said that she had been mercifully pitying others before, but today would be different. Levi asked if they thought they could defeat the orcs. She said she hoped so, they had already said goodbye to this world. Xenos shouted to the girls to wait. Those seeing him shouted back. Sophia asked if he had come to dissuade them from war. Linga said that she adored the hero but could not fulfill his request. Thoth disagreed and replied that that was not why he was here. He said that he realized that it was all too absurd, that it was unlikely that they would choose to go to war over him, and in fact, interspecies feuds had been lurking for a long time. He shouted for them to do what they wanted, but it was their business. Lily shouted, confirming his words. Sophia said that it was good that Dr. Xenos was okay with their battle. She asked the others how about the winner getting the hero. Linga replied that she was in. Levi said she was the only one here worthy of it. The hero was puzzled. Lily told him that he had said that they were definitely not in love after all. Suddenly everyone ran forward. Xenos and Lily saw that it had all started. Sophia quickly dashed between the orcs, wounding them with her blade. Linga jumped high with her axe, aiming at one of the lizard men. She powerfully attacked it with her weapon. Levi meanwhile attacked the wolf. She grabbed its muzzle with her hands, pressing down hard on it. The battle continued, and many serious wounds were inflicted. The fighters looked tired already. Sophia, looking around, asked what was the matter. Looking at the ogres and orcs, she said she could not defeat them. Linga shouted that she should have finished off a few dozen by now, but they were barely hurt. Suddenly a realization came to her. She wondered how they hadn't noticed that the wounds were healing too quickly. The girls looked at Xenos. He said that he had spoken of not discouraging them from fighting, yet he had used magic. He said that they were all his patients, and if they were injured, he should cure it. The hero said that he was a healer after all. Sophia smiled, realizing what was the matter. She said that meant it was his duty to see to their health, that she could not believe he could treat a whole crowd for so long. She said that he had, after all, refused to join any race, and she thought he would not support anyone. Levi said that because then everything was meaningless. The hero agreed. The girls realized that everything was pointless, that they would just endlessly beat each other up and recover, and that would get them nowhere. Xenos asked if they really wanted to continue. The girls hesitated for a moment. He said he would heal until they got tired of this boring battle, and of course it was for a fee. Linga threw her weapon to the ground. Sophia laughed and said that there was also a fee to pay. Linga asked why go on then. Levi said that it seemed like it was time to finally end it all. The clan heads realized that they were tired of the anger, resentment, hatred that had been passed down from generation to generation. It was now clear to them that this endless battle was going nowhere. They decided that they would live in peace. The girls discussed that they now had another reason to fight, namely for Dr. Xenos. The man asked Lily what they were talking about. The girl said that the hero was right on the prowl. She asked why he tries so hard to help everyone. He replied that a healer once told him something. The hero said that the healer had said that third-rate, underground healers were suitable for treating wounds and injuries, second-rate healers saved people's lives, and only the best healers could change the whole world for the better. Xenos said that even as a third-rate healer, he hoped to do some good for the world. He and Lily looked at each other. The girl turned to him, grabbing his sleeve. She said she liked him very much. The hero, puzzled, replied that Lily was dear to him too. The girl wondered aloud whether he really did not understand, or was just pretending. Xenos said that we should be getting ready to go home by now. Lily asked if they would go for the money. He replied that of course. And just like that, one slum healer put an end to a long interracial feud. This high-profile event will undoubtedly affect the future of Xenos. Meanwhile, events were also taking place in the Kingdom of Hazes. The girl asked the commander if he wanted to see her. The latter realized that it was the deputy commander Krishna and said that he had been waiting for her. She asked why he had summoned her so suddenly. The commander said that disturbing rumors had reached him. The girl interrogated. The man said that it seemed that the years-long war between the non-humans had suddenly stopped, that they had decided not to feud anymore. Krishna interrogated whether the man was joking. She said that everyone knew that the struggle for supremacy had not ceased for a long time in that neighborhood. She suggested that maybe someone just finally got the upper hand and killed the others. The girl said that she did not believe that they had just made up among themselves. The commander replied that they say they were befriended by one person. Krishna was puzzled. The man said that the Hazes kingdom had always had a strict caste system, that the townspeople were discontented with the poor, and the poor feuded against the townspeople, and this broken balance had been maintained for many years. He said that suddenly there was someone who could reconcile the three violent races and this could become a national-level problem. The commander said that as protectors of order in the kingdom, they could not allow such a thing to happen, so he called Krishna. But they told him to rely on her, that she would not allow anyone to disturb their foundations. The man said he was expecting good news, calling her an Iron Lady. Xenos sneezed loudly. Linga asked if he had a cold. She said she could warm him with her fur. Levi said that if he needed a strong and warm hug, she could help. Sophia said she would make him some tea now. Hero told them that they were overreacting. He asked to stay out of the way, adding that he needed to concentrate. He put his hands near Sophia's wound, after which the wound quickly healed. The girl cheerfully said that she was just delighted with his healing skills. Lily said that it seemed a long time since Sophia had come just as a guest. The girl replied that actually, the royal guards think they are criminals, so they persecute them. Her brother said that one has to often fight off these intrusive types. Xenos said he remembered that they had already been seriously wounded in the arm once. The girl realized what he was talking about. Sophia said that she was ruthless. The hero interjected. The girl said that she was about the deputy commander of the guard, the Iron Lady, that she was a cruel girl who could kill without a shadow of regret on her face. Camille appeared. She told Xenos that it would be problematic if such a woman laid eyes on him and asked if he thought so. Lily gave a surprised shout. The hero said he didn't care, and it turns out they are at war with the King's Guard. The ghost said she had a bad feeling. Xenos replied that it was useless to worry about something that had not yet happened. He asked if it was true that they would soon be having lunch. Lily cheerfully agreed. Sophia said she liked vegetable dishes. Linga shouted that she wanted fish. Levi said that meat was the best food. Hero said that in his opinion, he did not ask them. He said they were picky and he hoped he would not have such difficult customers again. Camille headed for the first floor again. Xenos asked her to stop disappearing halfway through the sentence. And just like that, he was caught in an endless succession. Looking around, Krishna realized that these were not rumors. Walking through the streets, she saw members of different clans laughing, playing, drinking together. She walked on, thinking that this could not be. She thought that it turns out that that man really was able to reconcile the three races. Seeing the ogre, she asked if she could distract him for a couple of hours. The man asked what was wrong. The girl replied that it had been a long time since she had been here, and things had changed a lot. The ogre asked in surprise if this was true. Krishna replied that she had never seen a wreck wolf interacting so nicely with an orc. The lizard said that it was not surprising that they were no longer at war. The girl said that they were on bad terms, to say the least. She asked what had happened. The lizard hesitated. He apologized and said she seemed rather suspicious and didn't think he could tell with her. He told her to take it for granted and asked if it was better that we lived in peace. Krishna thought about his words about taking it for granted. The lizard man said he would go. The girl told him to stop. She quickly blocked his path and put the gun to his body. The man was frightened. He asked who she was. Krishna asked him where the man lived. She brought the gun even closer. The lizard man stated that he would not say anything. He said that that man had helped them a lot, that even if she threatened, he would still not tell her anything. The girl was about to attack, but suddenly they saw Zofia and her brother passing by. Krishna was frightened and ran away. She thought it was not worth fighting the head of the lizard man and her brother in their own territory. Suddenly a realization came to her. She remembered that their hands were badly scarred, and she didn't understand why they were in such good condition. Krishna did not understand what was even going on here. Xenos noticed that it was getting rather chilly. He was glad it was quiet, for everyone had finally left. Suddenly someone came through the door, apologizing. The hero was surprised. It was Krishna. She said that she was a little lost. Xenos replied that she was certainly unlucky. She apologized for interrupting his rest. He replied that it was all right. She asked if he could tell her how to get to town. The hero began to explain where she needed to go. Lily came out to them with a tray. She asked the girl if Xenos' new patient was her. Krishna looked at the girl and was immediately alarmed. She turned to the hero and said that it was cruel. She asked how dare he use the girl as a slave by taking out a magic gun. She pointed the gun directly at Xenos, after which she immediately shot him. Sparks flew from the shot, and the hero disappeared from sight. Lily shouted fearfully to him. Krishna said that she could not stand child kidnappers, that she would see to it that he received his due punishment. Lily called out for Xenos. Krishna told her that she was an elf and he was human, that he was not her parent or master, and now she was free. She yelled for the girl not to worry and she would take this criminal into custody. Lily disagreed. She shouted that Xenos was no criminal at all, that he was her savior and had freed her from slavery. Krishna was surprised. She looked wistfully at the smoke from the gunshot. The girl said that she might have jumped to conclusions. Lily shouted in surprise that she had shot him for nothing. Krishna asked for forgiveness. She said she took her job seriously and needed to act fast so as not to miss anyone. She said that now this guy would be unconscious for some time. Suddenly Xenos said that they should have at least made sure he was a criminal before shooting. The girl looked at the smoke in shock. A hero had come out of him. She didn't understand why he was conscious. She apologized and said she was glad he was in one piece, but asked how he had managed. The one replied that he had used protective magic. Krishna said that he must be joking. She said that mere defense magic could not stop a bullet from her magic gun. The hero replied that he had, as she could see, succeeded. The girl asked if he was lying. She noticed that he did not have a scratch on him. She surmised that he was a famous magician, that he had mastered protective and healing magic to perfection and was now seeing patients. Xenos replied that this was not entirely true. Krishna said in surprise that she could not have been mistaken, that she was the deputy commander of Krishna's royal guard. She asked if he understood her level. The hero was confused. He asked again if she was the deputy commander of the guard. The girl replied that she was better known by the nickname Iron Lady, and maybe he had heard. Xenos was shocked. Krishna told him that she would be glad if he would help her in one investigation. The hero interjected. At that time they were overheard by Camilla. Krishna said that she had come to the slum on a secret mission to find and arrest one man. The hero was surprised that she was telling this so easily to a stranger. She replied that it was only so that they could cooperate. She said that the criminal had never been caught by the Imperial Guard, which meant he was hiding somewhere, and she thought that since he was also hiding, maybe he had heard something. Xenos asked who exactly she was looking for. The girl replied that she was looking for the Arbiter, the one who ended the war between the non-humans in the slums. The hero was very frightened. She asked what was wrong. Xenos replied that it was nothing. Camille was peeping at them. As she watched them, she laughed. Krishna said that they thought there would be no end to the clan war, and the situation had changed extremely. She shouted that as a custodian of order, she could not afford to just forget about such an influential figure. She said that even with threats, the non-humans refused to talk about him, and from the looks of it, he was controlling their minds. The girl said that she was willing to bet that he was a henchman of the devil himself. Xenos was surprised. He asked if she thought it was worthwhile to continue looking for him. Krishna interjected. He said that he didn't seem to want to be found, didn't want to stand out, and it was best to leave him alone. The girl turned to him. She shouted, asking if he knew him. The hero shouted that he had just assumed. Krishna said that he could not leave him, that one day he might go against the state and become a threat. Lily said that maybe he wouldn't even think of such a thing. She said he's a little greedy, but he doesn't really like to see anyone suffer. Xenos turned to her. Krishna asked Lily if that meant she knew him. She shouted that she did not know, that Lily knew nothing. The hero told the girl that he would show her how to go back to the city, so she had better go back soon. Ta asked why sooner. Suddenly she noticed a bed and asked why the bed was standing at the entrance. Xenos was frightened. He thought it would be strange to call it a bedroom and said he had put it there to throw it away later. The girl hesitated. She asked if she could use it then. Everyone wondered. She said that the place was perfect as a base for a secret mission, that she would pay for the accommodation. The girl asked if the hero would mind. She and Lily were confused. Xenos had to agree. Krishna thanked him cheerfully for his cooperation. She said she would be sure to catch the Arbiter, the root of all evil. Camille said that just like that, the number of women pestering Xenos increased in the treatment center. The night came. Krishna turned to the hero. She said that it was so quiet at night. The one asked if she would return home after completing her mission. The girl said that it was after all a city destroyed by plague. She asked if the undead would rise. Xenos replied that rays could come out. He asked if the girl was afraid and if it would be better to go back. The replied not to try to force her back. She said that Rays was the highest ghost in the undead hierarchy and they would definitely not meet her here. Looking at Camille looking out, the hero thought that they met here every day. Lily brought tea, quickly placing a mug on the table. Xenos apologized. Krishna picked up the cup and started to drink the tea, but got burned. She apologized and said that a sensitive tongue was her only weakness. The hero replied that she had quite a few weaknesses. Lily began to act strangely. He asked her what was the matter. The girl sat on his lap, and Xenos didn't understand what was wrong. Lily shouted to him, and he started stroking her head. The girl sat up and looked contentedly at Krishna. The hero did not realize what was happening, thinking that the girl was acting spoilt even more than usual. Camilla crept up behind him. She said it was jealousy. Xenos shouted that she had scared him. The ghost said Krishna could not see her. The hero asked why Lily would be jealous of him. Rays replied that he was sharing shelter with a woman who had suddenly appeared on his doorstep, and Lily could feel him getting closer to her. She said that he seems to get along well with non-human girls, and yet doesn't mind giving the bed to the one who shot him with their magic pistol. Camille said who would have thought a girl who attacked him with such fury would have a sensitive tongue. She asked if he thought she would believe that he had peace in his heart, and what to do now. She said that the battle for his love was about to begin. The hero replied for her to be silent. He thought about the fact that, however, there was some truth in her words. Xenos remembered how she wanted to blow on his hot tea, comb his hair, peel his apple. He came to the conclusion that she was so clingy to him today. Lily was looking at Krishna contentedly. The latter was thinking about something. The girl shouted that she was now using a trick Camille had taught her. She turned to the hero and squeezed his cheeks. Lily was very embarrassed. She shouted that she would not let him sleep that night. The girl slept on Xenos' lap with a smile. Krishna said that she seemed to be having good dreams. The hero agreed and said he thought she was. He thought he should have a chat with Camille later. He moved the girl to the bed and covered her with a blanket. As he left the room, he asked Krishna what was wrong and what she was thinking about. The one replied that she was thinking about Lily. He said she was captured by slave traders. The girl asked if he knew them. The hero answered in the negative. He said they left almost immediately, and he prioritized treatment. Krishna said that she was sure there was child trafficking going on somewhere here, that she had investigated the matter before the present mission. Xenos asked if that was why she had shot him. The girl replied that she was sorry. She said that her temper was her only weakness. The hero asked if she had too many weaknesses. Krishna replied that not too many. She said that she had investigated all sorts of cases. She explained that the Lady of Steel is the ideal of the Royal Guard, an indispensable hero to the citizens. The girl said that no matter how many weaknesses she had, she would always be on the side of order. Xenos reflected. Krishna said she wanted to ask him something, to which he consented. She asked if he was a master in protective magic. The hero replied that he was not. The girl told him not to be modest. She said she would like to hear his opinion as a master in the field. She asked if she could, for example, grow an arm if she mastered healing magic. The hero interjected. Krishna asked herself what she was carrying, adding that such a thing was impossible unless one was a holy healer of high caliber. She said that when she was guarding a private area for aristocrats, she got into a fight with Sophia Gale, the leader of a gang of thieves. She said that she inflicted a significant wound on her with a shot in the arm. Krishna said that when she saw Sophia in the slum, there was not even a scratch on her hand. She said that she had given much thought to the image of the arbitrator, and she wondered to whom Sophia had turned, after which she came to one conclusion. The girl said that if there was someone capable of healing such grievous wounds, such a person must be of great renown. Xenos was in suspense. Xenos thought that the deputy commander of the Imperial Guard, Krishna, was quite perceptive. Ta said that she would begin her investigation tomorrow. She said confidently that the arbitrator, the instigator of the poor and the root of evil, would surely fall into her hands. The hero reflected on her words about the root of evil. He asked why she was so set against the poor. The girl put down her mug. She said it was a long story. Krishna explained that her mother had died at the hands of the poor. She said that her mother was a person full of compassion and the people in the slums were hungry and miserable, so she helped them with food. She said that once her dead body was brought home, they wanted to steal her wedding ring from her. The girl said that her mother had saved so many poor people from starvation, but no one could save her. That was the whole reason. She said that she would be the perfect heroine and would destroy all the bad people in the slums so that such a thing would not happen again. Krishna said that she then became known as the Lady of Steel, and that face is like an iron mask. She said that since that day she had learned to laugh. As she left, the girl said she would return in the evening. Xenos looked after her. Camille told him not to worry and that there was nothing he could do. He agreed. He thanked her. Reyes replied that she was just getting on her nerves. The hero treated Sophie's arm. He told her not to be so reckless, and he couldn't heal her if she died, after all. The girl asked for forgiveness. She remembered something and said she wanted to tell him something important. Xenos asked what it was. She said she had learned from her subordinate that the Lady of Steel had got wind of the arbitrator. The hero inhaled. The girl asked what the other breath was. She told the doctor that she felt he was in danger, that if the Steel Lady found him, things could go wrong. Suddenly Krishna walked into the house. She apologized and said that she was a little lost. She and Sophia looked at each other in surprise. Krishna pointed the gun at her rival and asked her what she was doing here. The girl asked in surprise where the Lady of Steel had come from here. Xenos shouted that they had it all wrong. Camille said he was like a husband caught cheating. The girls asked if he would explain everything. Krishna asked Sophia why she was here. The head of the lizardmen replied that it was her question. The Lady of Steel told Xenos to be careful and that Sophia was the real villain. The Ta replied that it was the one with the gun who said that. She asked if the one wanted to put up a fight right there. Krishna said that she was not going to destroy the place. Sophia asked why then she should not remove the thing. The deputy general asked to let her ask something first. She asked what was wrong with her arm. She said that the arm was completely healed and asked if the arbitrator was the one who healed that wound. Sophia asked what of it. She cried out that he had healed the wounded man, and asked him to answer her why he should not have done so. Krishna said that they feared the influence of the arbitrator, that unrest among the poor might endanger the lives of the citizens. The head of the lizard men interrogated. She said that always with Krishna the poor are to blame. They interjected. Zafia told her to look around, that bad people are not only among the poor. She asked if the had heard that the guard was investigating a case of child trafficking. She asked if she knew that the aristocracy was running it. Krishna was shocked. She shouted that it was nonsense, that the hotbed of illegal slave trade must definitely be in the slums. Sophia replied that of course the aristocrat would not let them catch it easily. She asked if it is true that not caught means not a thief. She said that they had to move the children to a special room in the country house. Krishna replied that something was not believable to her. She asked, if so, to tell her who the culprit was. The head of the lizard men said it was Galander. The Lady of Steel asked back in surprise. She said he was a great man who was dedicated to providing education to orphans. Sophia replied that in this way he had fooled everyone. She said that Tao was wrong about the judge, that this man did not judge them by their status, appearance, and past, that he was just saving the lives he met on his way. She explained that this was why they valued him so much, and if Krishna hurt herself, he would cure even her. She shouted that unlike her, he does not equate the poor with criminals and her sense of justice is just false. Krishna interrogated what she had said and asked Xenos to step back. He apologized and said he would intervene, that Sophia was his patient after all. The Steel Lady interjected. The hero apologized for not saying so immediately. He explained that he was the judge. He apologized, adding that he did not mean to make such a fuss. Krishna said that he was lying, that he was after all a master of protective magic, not healing magic. He replied that actually, he could use both. The girl asked who would even believe such a thing. She said she did realize something though, that he was on the side of this half-man. She said she went to look for other points of refuge, that people needed an exemplary hero. As she left, she shouted that she was no fake. Sophia began to apologize to Xenos. She said that here she had made a mess of things. He said it was not her fault, and instead apologized for making her worry. Lily looked outside. The hero asked her what was wrong. The one replied that Krishna had gone in the opposite direction from the slum. She thought the girl was lost again. Xenos was surprised. He said that this could not be so, and most likely she was not heading towards the slum. Galander, sitting opposite Krishna, said it was unexpected for the deputy commander-in-chief of the Imperial Guard Division himself to come to meet him. The girl apologized for distracting him. She burned herself with tea and apologized, adding that hot is her only weakness. The Lord said that even an Iron Lady still has weaknesses. He asked what she wanted to talk about. She began a story. The girl thought she had heard about the rumor that he was a child trafficker, and naturally she could not say that, although she had come to make sure it was all nonsense. She asked the Lord if he knew about the thieves sneaking into the special area. He replied that he had been listening to something about a thieving band of lizards. Krishna said that was true, and they were trying to strengthen the defenses, but it was simply impossible to cover the whole zone. She said she would like to ask permission to check the insides of the estate, the state of the theft prevention system from a high-risk location. She looked at Galander carefully. The latter hesitated. He said it was a great idea, that he was free until dinner, so he could accompany him. The girl replied that it was a great honor to be personally escorted by the Lord. They walked round the large house, looking into the kitchen, the bathroom, the outside. Krishna thought that the rumors were false after all, and there was no need to come here. Lord asked how she was doing. She replied that everything was much better protected than she had expected. Galander asked if something was wrong. Krishna replied that everything was fine. She apologized and asked if she could use the washroom before leaving. The Lord replied that of course. The girl left the room and thought it was strange. She thought that although Lord Galander is an aristocrat, his status is somewhere between lower and middle rank, but despite that the security here is overly tight, and on top of that, everything is centered at the back. She looked at the guards and said that this can't be. Krishna thought about the fact that she had been forced to surrender her magic pistol at the entrance, and was afraid it would not be safe without the weapon. She walked past the guards and reached the well and looked inside. The girls saw that all the water inside had dried up and there was a ladder leading to the well. She began to climb down. She crawled down and finally reached the bottom. In front of her was a corridor. Krishna said in surprise that this could not be. At the end of the corridor was a large wooden door. She thought that it looked like she had no choice, and what if children were being held here? The girl took off her belt and began to pick the lock with its buckle. She went in with thoughts of what she needed to check on, for they needed help. Looking ahead, Krishna was shocked. In front of her was a cage containing many blindfolded children. One of the children asked who she was. He said he was scared. The girl said it was okay and she wouldn't do anything bad to them. She said that they must be very scared. She asked them to wait for a while, adding that she would help them now. The boy asked who she was. Krishna wanted to say that she was a hero, but suddenly she was attacked. Her side was wounded and blood poured from it. Holding the gun, the Lord said that just as he thought, the magic weapon of the Imperial Guard is different, and it can be used to intimidate these milksops. He said that he had a premonition that something bad would happen if he delayed, but this was not what he expected. The wounded Krishna was on her knees, holding the wound with her hand. Again a gunshot occurred. The girl screamed loudly. The Lord shouted that people like her dare not imitate the aristocracy. He shouted that he had kidnapped dozens of these dairymen from the slums, that he was the aristocracy here. Unlike the dumb cattle, he could do whatever he wanted. Krishna mentally asked for forgiveness. She apologized to her mother for not being able to be a hero. Lord shouted how pathetic she looked, that the hierarchy was justice, that she would pay for such behavior with her life. Suddenly someone shouted that bandits had appeared and they were rushing in. Galandar was shocked. It was Zofia. She asked if he wanted to know why they were still alive. The Lord did not understand what was happening. Xenos said that it was unreasonable, that the Lord was the type that in a bad way fulfills expectations. He said that he immediately arrived at the summons, and he must be ready, for it would be deadly long. Galandar shouted insults. The hero said not to pay attention and that he was a bad healer. Zofia said she was just a guide. The wounded Krishna looked at them. Lord shouted upstairs asking if anyone was there. Zofia said that her boys were rampaging outside so there would be no help for a while. The Lord said they were lizard men, and sure enough, the very bandits rumored. He told them not to try to intimidate him by calling him an idiot, and since they were slum thugs, they could just shoot them. He pointed the gun at Xenos and yelled for him to stand, that he would take them down one by one. Krishna told him to be careful, and that a magic pistol without a restrainer is extremely deadly. Galandar fired. He shouted that they were jerks, that they were in the territory of a noble aristocratic family, that they should know their place. Suddenly, the hero said that he really hurt a little. The Lord was shocked. Shaking himself off, Xenos stepped out of the resulting clouds of dust. The Lord cried out in surprise. He asked how they could do such a thing then, and started firing 2 magic pistols at once. A hero's hand appeared out of the smoke. Galandar said he would teach the beggars a lesson. He laughed loudly. Krishna turned to Xenos. He stepped out of the smoke and stood right in front of the Lord. The magic pistol of the frightened man fell to the floor. The hero asked why he was firing his gun like a man, asking him to have a conscience. He picked up the gun. The Lord said that it was his gun. Xenos put the gun to his head. The man asked fearfully what he was doing. The doctor replied that when shooting people one should be prepared to get shot himself, that the man should not forget that. He almost pulled the trigger. Galandar fell to his feet and shouted wait, he understood everything, that they were honest bandits, and he would pay them. The hero replied that he was not a bandit. The Lord asked what he wanted then. The one replied that he just didn't like the way he had decided without a fraction of a doubt to sizzle him with a magic pistol. The man shouted that he understood, he apologized and begged for mercy. Xenos refused. The Lord asked why. The hero told the man to apologize to her, pointing to Krishna. Galandar said that he was wrong, that a little blood hit his head, that after all he had only fired a shot, apologized. He asked if such an apology was sufficient. The hero said that the apology was rejected. The Lord asked with a shout why. Xenos asked if he thought he had apologized. He said that generally speaking he was not Krishna's friend and was just helping her. The man asked what then embarrassed him. The hero shouted that there was someone to whom the one should apologize first. The Lord asked in bewilderment who it was. The doctor looked at him. He asked if the latter really did not understand. Galander shouted that the man wanted to intimidate him and rake in a bigger ransom. The hero said he didn't seem to understand and would have to punish him. The Lord asked to wait. Xenos shouted to make him feel what it was like to be a candidate for patient. He fired the gun. The man screamed, asking what the man was doing, and then wailed in pain. The blow came straight to his stomach, throwing him back against the wall. He screamed. The man fell unconscious to the ground. Krishna asked if Xenos had killed him. The man replied that he had switched on the limiter, so Galander was alive. He said that it was not his business to judge the scoundrel. Krishna said it was too late and asked him to refer the matter to the Imperial Guard headquarters. The hero asked if she was in the guard. He said that her left arm and side were injured and also, it seems, her internal organs. The girl was lying on the ground. Xenos asked if she thought it was already over. The woman wondered. He said that somehow it didn't fit with the image of an iron lady. Krishna looked at him in bewilderment. He said she would cry later when he billed her. She asked again, not realizing what was going on. The hero started the treatment. Krishna was surprised. He said that she had ruptured blood vessels and soft tissues, broken bones, tissue dying off, that she needed to stop the bleeding and heal the injuries. The girl turned to him, but he said she was distracting him and asked him to be quiet for a while. Krishna obeyed. Looking at him, she said he was a true savior. Xenos replied with a smile that it was nothing. He said he was just an ordinary dark healer from the slums. Krishna stood up, and looking at his healthy side, said she could not believe her eyes. She said that means the hero is a user of this marvelous healing magic. The one replied that somehow he was. She said that to possess not only protective but also healing magic at the same time is unthinkable. Xenos replied that there was nothing wrong with that. Sophia said it was fine and she had seen it for herself. Krishna agreed. She bowed and apologized. The girl said that she was wrong, that she could not be considered a perfect heroine. The hero reflected. He said that it was impossible to be a perfect hero without fear and reproach, that if you fight for something, there was no way to avoid bruises and wounds. He said that's what the healers are for. Krishna turned to him. He said he did not like to speak for others. He said that no matter how badly she was wounded in battle, no doubt about it, here she was a real heroine to them. The girl asked for whom. The boy asked if Auntie was all right. The girl asked if the good aunt had won. Krishna looked at them. Xenos put his hand on her shoulder and said she was the first to act. He said that in a situation where the truth was hidden from outsiders, she spoke out against the aristocrats. Knowing that there seemed to be children who needed her help, she decided to save them. He asked who the real hero was but her. Krishna began to stutter. She shouted to the children that all was well, that just a little more and now she would get them out. The girl said that her mum must have been like that too. She said that she always thought her mum was a pathetic victim, but her eyes always lit up so much when she distributed food to the children in the slums. Xenos agreed. He said that Krishna was now a hero to the children, and he had no doubt about it. Ta said that she was always trying to be perfect. She said that her mum was clumsy, flashy, absent-minded, forgetful, just bang on not quite perfect, but for all that there was something. She said that without any doubt her mum was a real heroine to her. Sophia shouted to the hero to get out of here. He said that it was up to Krishna to take it from here, and she would come later to pay for the treatment. The girl asked him to wait. She asked why they had come to her rescue. Xenos hesitated. He asked again. He replied that she had said she would pay for the night's lodging, and if she foolishly died, who would pay him her debt? He told her to pay exactly what she owed and that he would include that amount in her medical bill. Krishna thought for a moment, and then began to laugh. She laughed out loud while Xenos looked at her in bewilderment. He asked her what was so funny. The girl's tears came out from laughing. She said that the day her mother died she had stopped laughing forever, that she had been so angry and sad that she couldn't even smile. She asked how could she smile while even one criminal was walking around on the loose. Krishna said that means now she laughed for the first time. Xenos said that it must be admitted that she was laughing a little oddly. Sophia agreed, adding that she would even say, a little scary. Krishna replied that it couldn't be helped, and it had been so long since she had laughed. She said that not being able to laugh was not her only, but one of her many faults. At that time, Aston's posse was on the road. One of the lads said that at last they were here in the middle of nowhere. Aston said not to test his patience. A bloke from the team said, "I wish they had some great wine now." Another said they'd get it over with quickly and make up for it in town. A third agreed. Andres asked if the others had seen how stunned that tavern girl was when she found out they were from the Golden Phoenix. Yuma asked him where he was ahead of them. The man replied that whoever was ahead of them would be rewarded. Aston told them not to bicker like market women. He told them to forget about commoners, that noble ladies would now be pining for them. He said that they would first become mercenaries of the highest rank, and once they retired they would become aristocrats. There were foxes in front of them. Aston said to look. He said they would be plus-grade ogreless. He said they are on the shoot and the fur of the cubs is softer and more expensive. Taking his sword out of its sheath, he told the boys to be careful, and that Lord Fennel would be pleased. Aston said that his blade was already beginning to rust. He shouted to Gale to use a protection spell. Gale agreed. He placed the paper on the ground and began to cast the spell. Aston at this time rushed forward to attack the ogreless. He swung his sword, but the animal deftly dodged. He began cursing that it was too fast, then shouted that he was hot. Some of his armor and clothes were badly melted. Suddenly he heard a piercing scream. Turning around, he saw that a fire lizard had bitten Yuma. The latter was screaming in pain. Aston did not realize what was happening. Suddenly one of the foxes released a huge fireball from its mouth, which he barely dodged. He shouted to Andres to use an attack spell. The latter replied that he was already conjuring. Aston shouted for Andres not to slow down and asked what he was digging for. Thoth asked him to hold on a little longer. Aston shouted to Guile, asking if he was calling it defensive magic. Guy replied that he had done everything right and didn't understand what it was. The head of the group was angry with him. The fox kept biting Yuma. He was losing consciousness. Aston didn't understand what was happening. He shouted to Andres and asked where the attack magic was. The latter replied that in order not to damage their skins, the magic needed to be fine-tuned more precisely, and he needed more time. Aston was tense. He shouted that there was nothing to be done, and for now they would retreat. As they pulled back, he started shouting at the team that they couldn't deal with these poor foxes who were only B+ grade. Andres shouted that the man didn't fight normally at all. He asked what kind of ballet it was. Gal agreed. He said they had been roughed up. He asked if it could be that Xenos the jerk was right here. Xenos said that when his companions are wounded, he uses immediate healing spells, and in addition uses defensive magic, so they are very difficult to wound, and with strengthening spells he increases their strength in battle. Aston replied that there is no such thing. Gal agreed. The head of the group remarked that here, hiring a healer is possible. He thought about the fact that a task from the 7 great houses was at stake, and he had no margin for error. He said that when he returned to the nearest town, he would contact the guild. Gale was told that he was not allowed to drink. 10 days later, the team returned to the same place. Aston said he had wasted so much time. He turned to Wamine and asked her to be helpful. The Ta replied not to get their hopes up. She said that she was usually a healer in the Royal Harbor and only had adventurer qualifications. She asked why a golden phoenix, which was known to be able to defeat even class of magical beasts, would seek the support of a mid-level healer like her. Aston replied that there was also a lot going on here. Gale asked the girl if Yuma would be alright. She replied that he had survived but was no longer ready for adventure. Andres asked Aston what he was going to do. He replied that they would just bring home the hide. This was a direct request from Lord Fennel of the 7 Noble Lords, and a great opportunity to sell the Golden Phoenix name. The Lord said he wanted to give his daughter a fox fur scarf for her birthday. Aston thought about getting the hide and going home. He said that after all, Yuma was not worthy of the glorious Golden Phoenix. He told Andres not to procrastinate with his magic this time. The boy replied that he knew, and he had prepared for it. Aston shouted to Guile and asked if it was so that he was not drinking this time. Guile replied that it was, and that it was all right. The fire foxes ran at them with great speed. The foxes began to release fire, which immediately spread around. Aston shouted to Gale to run quickly for cover. The latter shouted to trust him. The team was ready for battle. The team leader thought that now all they had to do was slowly reduce the number of ogreless. Suddenly Andres was thrown back by a strong attack. Aston asked what the hell he was doing and ordered him to get up quickly. Struggling with the fox, he realized that things were bad. He yelled, asking why he couldn't hit anything. Womin turned to him. He asked what was wrong. She asked if he was still going on and said that Andres was in danger if he did not receive proper treatment. The head of the team was puzzled. He thought it would be difficult to finish off this beast alone when his body was so weak that they needed Andres's destructive magic. He thought that even if they persisted here, they would only wear themselves out until they could use this Andres. His hands were shaking. The team retreated. On the way out, Aston yelled out asking what was going on. He shouted that he would not listen to Gao's excuses that he was out of shape this time. The latter replied that he did not know what was going on. Womin said that the protective magic had been switched on. She said that without it, the man would have died instantly. Aston shouted at her that he wouldn't let her do it if he was seriously injured and ordered her to heal him quickly. The girl replied that she need not say so, that it was just. She said that they should make a formula and cast a spell depending on the condition of the wound, that they had given him first aid, so they should send him to the healing center with recovery magic immediately. Aston was shocked. He said that they didn't have time for that, and that she should heal him right here and now. Womin asked what they were talking about. She said that not even a senior healer could completely heal him right here, that only a few special healers and saints could do such a thing. Aston interjected in surprise. He figured that this group hadn't been unscathed since they got rid of that guy. He thought about the fact that the one backed up with defense and strength magic when needed, and healed instantly if wounded, and that was how he described it. He wondered who could use special class healing magic without a healer's license. Aston reminded the girl that she had said she was a healer. He asked if she was joking and told the only reason he had not accepted it. Womin said it was hard to imagine and asked if there was such a person. The team leader replied that there was not. He thought he was saying that a poor man could not have done it. He thought that one thing was certain, that time was running out on the task. The man told Aston that he had been a fool to expect him to do anything so he would not show his face again. Aston asked him to wait. He cried out asking to be allowed to speak to Lord Fennel. The man replied that my lady's birthday had already passed and asked why they had come. He said that Lord Fennel's anger was not only due to their failure, that the man thought it was impossible, he could have called earlier, and saved himself the embarrassment of going to the lady's birthday party empty-handed. Aston shouted that it wasn't like that they were doing well. He shouted that they were so close to defeating the Fire Fox. The man interrogated what the man was saying. The team leader said that there was a traitor in their group and they were one step away from finishing him off when the Xenos suddenly left them. The man asked the hero's name again and said it was strange. He said he had never heard of a member of the Golden Phoenix with that name. Aston thought that was right, because they didn't put it in official or written documents so as not to leave slum people in the past as members of the group. He said he had made a mistake. He said that an archer named Yuma had betrayed them. Gale intervened and asked what the man was talking about. Aston shouted that it was true that the man was useless. The man said he was sorry to hear that. He added that the group's problems should be solved by the group and started to walk away. Aston fell to his knees and began to really beg again for another chance. The man said that he was informed that 2 members of their group were seriously injured in the hospital. He asked what chance they wanted to give the group with only half of the members left. The head of the group said it was no big deal because they would have a good replacement soon, so he asked for another chance. The man said he would inform Lord Fennel. Aston thanked. Gale asked what the man was going to do after saying that. Aston replied not to worry the man. He said there was another slave in their group. He said he was sure the one would love to return, that the one would cry if he returned him. He said that Xenos should thank him that he himself would come for him. At this time the hero sneezed violently. Lily asked if he was alright. Aston thought about the fact that raids are time-consuming as it is, same with completing quests from the guild, traveling laden with equipment, food and items is time and effort-consuming. He thought that was why it was invented to include poor people in the squad. These dregs of society can be used as much as they want. Seeing Xenos, he thought he seemed to have nowhere to go. He asked the hero what he was doing. He replied that he was doing nothing. Aston asked if he would go on the raid with them. Xenos was very surprised. He replied that he had heard, poor people can't be adventurers. The head of the group said usually not, but he didn't care about those classes if the person was motivated and with ability. He asked if the man knew how to do anything. The hero replied that he heals a little with magic. Aston said that's what it was, that they just didn't have a healer, so offered to join his squad. Gale asked what Aston was thinking about. The latter replied that he was thinking about nothing, and to ignore it. He said that he did not think he would return to this Viper. Gale said that he thought this Xenos had long been dead. The head of the group replied that that was not a fact, and maybe the one was alive. He said he gave him a gold coin as a parting gift to make him last longer. Gale said that this slum was big and asked how they would search. Aston replied that he had a thought. He said that there were 3 main factions of non-humans fighting for territory in the slums, seemingly lizard men, werewolves, and orcs. He said that they were the ones they would ask to find Xenos, that they were gathering information from all the slums. He turned to the lizard man and asked if he would take them to the ringleader, adding that he had a job offer. The lizard man asked who they were and where they were from. The ringleader replied that he was a gold-level squad leader. He held out a card and said that the man could rest assured. The lizard examined it carefully. He said to follow him. He entered the building and turned to Zofia and told her that the man wanted to offer her a job. The girl interjected. She said she was actually busy and was on her way to meet Doc. Aston introduced himself and said that he was the commander of the gold-level adventurer squad Golden Phoenix. Zofia said that was a long title and asked to be closer to the case. The group leader asked for help in helping them find one person, a man named Xenos, adding that he made sense in the slums about 2 months ago. The girl laughed out loud. Aston asked what was the matter. Zofia said that they were the dorky squad that was rumored to have expelled the Doc, and that they really did have faces like idiots. The head of the crew asked how dare she say that. She replied to tell them to get out and that she had no time to look for someone they didn't deserve. Aston shouted, asking if she knew Xenos. The girl replied that enough was enough, and that she had no business with jerks. The guy got angry and asked who she thought he was, pulling out his sword. Zofia asked if he himself realized who he was talking to. He calmed down. He said he had only wasted his time and hurried out. The girl told them in their wake that if they touched the Doc, they would not get away with it. As they walked out, Gale shouted asking what was going on. The partner shouted that he didn't know himself. He said not to worry, and that there were still 2 more groups in reserve. When they got to Linga, she said that it was a squad of jerks who kicked out Mr. Xenos. She said that she thought it was better for them to die and be reborn as dung flies. Aston was surprised that she knew Xenos too. The girl replied that she didn't think the doctor cared about dung flies and it was in their best interest to get out of here at once. The head of the group asked how dare she. Linga, surrounded by angry werewolves, asked if he was pouncing. The team was taken aback. The girl said that if they behaved inappropriately with Mr. Xenos, the werewolves would not forgive them. She told them to get it into their stupid heads. Aston shouted angrily, asking what was going on here. Gao replied that he had no idea. The squad leader said that he had to meet the hero anyway, that there was no way without him, that there were still orcs left, and we should go to them. When they met with Levi, she asked if they were the trash who kicked Xenos out, and what they wanted from him now. The boys were puzzled. The girls said that if they started pestering the doctor, the orc clan wouldn't keep quiet. Gale turned to Aston. He told him to keep quiet. He thought that judging from the reactions of all 3 factions, they adored Xenos, but however, that couldn't be the case. Suddenly, a thought occurred to him. He said that it was someone else, and it just so happened that there was someone influential with the same name. Gale asked what about the talk of being expelled from the squad. The team leader replied that it was just a coincidence, and such cases were not uncommon. He thought that there was one last possibility that this someone influential was really Xenos. He decided that he would never in his life believe that someone he had always looked down on was admired by all the bigwigs of the underworld. He said that in any case, they would find him. The hero called out to Lily. She agreed and said she still could not remember the way. Xenos said the slums were full of confusing alleys. Gale spotted him in the crowd. He turned to Aston and pointed to the hero. They were very surprised. Aston watched Xenos smile. He thought he had finally found him, and began to shout to him. The hero noticed them, and was very surprised. The head of the group cheerfully said that Xenos was still alive. The doctor said goodbye, adding that he had business to attend to. Aston shouted for him to stand. He shouted that he was looking for him. The hero asked why. The one said to rejoice, and that he was being returned to the Golden Phoenix team. Xenos was puzzled. He dryly said he would not go. Aston went on to say that of course he would, for it was not every day that such a favor fell to him, as he suddenly came to his senses. He cried out in shock, interjecting. He asked if he had not heard it, and if the hero was sure not to go. The man replied that it was correct. The head of the group asked why. Xenos asked in reply, and why not? He said it was unfair treatment, the pay was paltry, there was no benefit, and in such cases it was customary to refuse. Aston shouted that it was not like that he was inviting him after all. The hero replied that in his spare time to escort them on a raid once he might consider. He added that if he was well paid. The head of the group interjected in surprise. Xenos said that he was no longer working for nothing, that 1 million ven for a single healing, and 3 times that for using defensive magic and enhancing abilities. Bargaining was out of the question. Aston shouted, asking what he thought of himself. He shouted that he didn't even have anywhere to go here anyway. Suddenly a passing orc said hello to the hero. The latter asked how his legs were. The orc replied that thanks to him they were fine. He said that the wound healed instantly and that was all his treatment. Xenos told him to just keep his weight down. The orc agreed. He said they had the choicest meat there, and they were expecting the doctor next time. He thanked him. Aston was shocked. Gale said that it comes out that Xenos is that Xenos. They watched the man talk to various non-humans. Aston realized that it was because of him that the Golden Phoenix remained unharmed. Gale shouted that it was Aston who had suggested that Xenos be kicked out. He asked what the latter would do now. The latter shouted to him to shut up, and that they were all in agreement with him. Lily said that these uncles were very noisy. The head of the group shouted asking what kind of uncle he was to her. Hero said they would go. Aston shouted, asking if he would go just like that. He asked if he really didn't want to go back to them. Toth replied that he said he did not, that he was fine here. The head of the group shouted that N is asking him, that he was the one who picked him up, that he sheltered him. Xenos apologized. As he left, he said it was too late. Aston only held out his hand in his wake. He told him not to ignore him. The head of the band asked if he was so flattered by the adulation of this rabble, adding that he would one day be an aristocrat. Aston drew his sword from its sheath. He jumped up, aiming at Xenos, as suddenly someone shouted at him to stand. A shot from a magic pistol flew at Aston. He crashed into the building with a loud scream. The girl said he was impertinent since he had the nerve to attack in front of her. It was Krishna. She said that the Imperial Guard division would not let him get away with it. The one interjected in surprise. Xenos turned to Krishna and asked what she had forgotten here. The girl replied that she was on her way to visit him and that she had scratched her finger here. He told her to lick it and then it would go away. Krishna shouted in embarrassment that she was doing it for him and would pay for all the treatment. The hero replied that F***K her. Aston thought about how Krishna's name sounded familiar. He remembered that she had sort of solved a few cases, and was rumored to be the youngest deputy division commander of the Imperial Guard. He didn't understand how come she was friends with Xenos. He asked the hero who he was and what it all meant. The girl said that she was escorting him to the police station for attempted assault. Aston was surprised. He shouted that it wasn't like that he didn't mean to attack, but Xenos forced him to. Guile asked him what it was all about. The head of the group ran while Krishna shouted at him. He ran with difficulty, and was beginning to get out of breath. As he hid around the corner, he thought about Xenos not daring to ignore him. Sophia tasted the jam and said it was delicious. Linga shouted that she made it from apples. Levi said that she helped her too. Linga said that the one was only helping to carry the pot but she was doing the rest. Levi replied that actually, she got the apples, and asked who mixed up the sugar and salt in the beginning. The head of the werewolf said that the same promised not to tell. Sophia said they got to the point, and the orc leader and the intimidating werewolf are making jam together. She asked what was going on. The girls looked at each other in bewilderment. Levi said that Sophia had proved herself in the case with that nobleman, and she and Linga were out of the picture. The latter replied that she was beginning to realize that they had decided to team up to appear in a better light. She laughed and asked if they were thinking of outmaneuvering her by some jam. The girls said she was still a step ahead in the dock war. Linga got angry. Levi said that as sad as it was, there was nothing to wing. Suddenly, Xenos came in. He said he heard everything, and from the beginning. He said to take him into consideration, and indeed, they dine at his place as a matter of course. The hero turned to Lily and told her to make a cuppa if he still had any left. The girl smilingly agreed. Xenos took a knife and spread the jam on the bread. He said it was nothing like that, but delicious. The girls were surprised. Sophia shouted for him not to say that, even if it was true, that they would become conceited after all. Linga was glad that it worked out. She said she was happy. Levi said they won, and she was about to cry. Camille, giggling, said that it was a draw so far. Sophia turned to Xenos. She said that some jerk showed up at her place the other day and kicked him out of the squad. The hero queried whether she was referring to Aston. The girl said that kicking Doc out was the height of stupidity on their part. Linga said that they came to her place too, and that they were those fools. Levi said that those scum dared to come to her place too. The head of the lizards said she had a bad feeling about Aston and had one of her boys follow him. She said they were never able to locate him. Linga said she couldn't either, and even her werewolf sense of smell failed. Levi said he hadn't been caught in the orc's nets either. Lily asked if the man had gone back to his neighborhood. Sophia replied that she wished he had. The head of the werewolves said there would be trouble if he went off the deep end. Levi agreed. The head of the lizardmen said it was because there was a bottom in the slums where even the worst scum couldn't get in. Xenos asked again about the bottom of the slum. Camille said they were talking about an underground guild. The hero asked if it was an underground guild. Sophia replied that in a different way, it is an illegal guild. She said that if there was work to be done that could not be done on their own, they were usually approached, that regular guilds worked according to set rules approved by the state about the content of orders and payment system. To become part of this system, one had to pass a certification test. She said that in the underground guild there are no such rules and for money they take up any job. The girl said that it could be drug dealing, murders, organizing revenge, that there are rumors that the underground guild was involved in a case of child trafficking by an aristocrat. Lily looked frightened. She asked what if that noisy uncle asked bad things from that underground guild. Xenos asked if she meant Aston by noisy uncle. He said he didn't know, and from what he had heard of the underground guild, ordering would cost a tidy sum. Camille said that since they had gone to the slums on purpose to find Xenos, their situation was probably pretty dire. Lily said that reassured her. Sophia looked thoughtful. The girl asked if something was wrong. The one replied that she remembered a rumor that there was someone in the underground guild who had recently been taking orders on certain conditions instead of money. She said that he seemed to call himself a guide. The conductor was meeting a customer and asked how the customer found the place. He said that the customer was referred here because there was not enough money to pay for the order and such meat. He said not to worry and that he takes on more than just money. He said he could be called a guide and asked the customer what the customer's order was. The conductor said that, simply put, revenge must be organized, and that the one could not stand not only himself but also his minions. He asked if the client would narrate the reason. He said that it was necessary, that the others in the underground guild might not be interested in the reason, as long as they paid, but that it was very important to him. The guide said that the reason was rather twisted and selfish, and it was more likely not revenge but simple resentment. He said he would not refuse, that such a reason was his favorite, and he would do a favor. In his hands the guide held a black stone. He said he was just doing some research and thought it would be a good time to use this specimen. He said not to worry and that the customer's order would be fulfilled properly. The conductor asked the customer to give his name. His lips spread into a sly and broad smile. It was Aston. The conductor said he would remember his name. Night had fallen. Lily asked Xenos if he could sleep. He apologized and said he would go to bed soon. The girl asked if he would have black tea and if he would fall asleep after it. The hero replied that it was all right and asked her to bring some. Lily poured the tea, and Xenos began to drink. The girl asked how he was. He replied that it was as good as always, very good, and thanked her. She stroked his head, to which he was very surprised. She said that when she couldn't sleep he usually stroked her head. The hero replied that she had helped him out, and now, he thought he would sleep well. Lily slept soundly in her bed. Camilla, sipping her tea, asked the doctor if he was awake. He asked if she was there too. He said that Lily had made 3 cups of tea and he couldn't help but drink it. Ray's replied that it was just that Lily was a very thoughtful girl. She asked if the dream was going because he kept thinking about the former troop. Xenos asked if she was worried about him. Camille shouted that it wasn't that she just wanted to have a little chat since there was nothing to do at night. He smiled. He said he wasn't preoccupied with thoughts of his former unit. Once he opened the treatment center, he was so busy he didn't even think of Aston. Hiro said he now recalled how the latter had treated him and wished he had never hit him like that. Camilla said she wanted to be frank. She said that human life was short and fleeting, and it was better to return the favor while it was still possible. Xenos scrutinized his palm. He said she was probably right. He said that his recent encounter with Aston had brought back memories of the past, and of the days when he had not yet joined his squad. Reyes asked if it was about those days when he lived in the slums. The hero answered in the affirmative. She turned to him, setting down her cup. She said she had heard that he had learned healer magic there, and asked how he had succeeded. The hero hesitated. He said that he had originally lived in the local orphanage, and only now realized how horrible it was. He said that every day in the slum was filled with many deaths, and at the orphanage they were tasked with stealing corpses, taking anything they could get money for. Xenos said he was against it, so he buried corpses without taking anything, for which he was often beaten. Camille said that if he left a corpse lying like that, but it could cause an epidemic, and he was doing the right thing. The hero replied that he had not thought of it then. He said that he only felt sorry for them, that they were already dead so they were also being ripped off, so he buried them so that no one would steal their belongings. He said that looking at the disembodied bodies was like looking at his tomorrow self. Xenos said that despite his efforts, they were often dug up, and one day he had a naive thought. He thought what would happen if he resurrected a corpse. Camille was shocked. She screamed that it was a forbidden spell. The hero agreed. He said he didn't know it at the time, and he tried desperately every day to resurrect. He said that as he stretched his hands over the body, he imagined it being restored, but, understandably, nothing happened. He explained that he therefore painstakingly studied the bodies. Xenos said he studied how the skin was arranged, how muscles were attached, how blood vessels and nerves ran, how organs were located. He said he had no idea of anatomy then, and did not understand what was needed or why, or how it functioned, but he never stopped thinking, imagining, and observing. The hero did this methodically, step by step, until he could clearly reproduce in his head the structure of the body. Camille was very surprised. She thought that all sorts of species live and die in the slums. She thought that Xenos had learned the structure of bodies from his own experience, and whether there were many healers like him in the world. She told him that it was maddening. The hero said that at first there was little use for his lessons, but he continued day after day, year after year, until his body began to embrace the white light, and he yen felt a response, and then he thought he could do what he had planned. But on the day he tried the resurrection, some man came up to him and struck him on the head. He looked angrily at the hero, and lifted him up by his clothes. He shouted that the boy should never use this power on the dead, that it should be spent on the living. Camille asked if this was the healer he had met in the slums. Xenos replied that he was, but he had seen the latter use healing magic one single time. He said that he never learned his real name, and he himself, who knew nothing but the world of the slums, was opened up to the whole world by the one. The hero said that man was cool, though he looked suspicious. He said that the mentor had many favorite phrases, but the ones he heard most often were that a third-rate healer heals only wounds, a second-rate healer heals people, and a first-rate healer fixes the world. Xenos said that at times he remembered him, and wondered if he had even become a third-rate. He said he must have already bored Camille with his stories, and apologized. She disagreed and said she had passed the time beautifully. The hero said it was glorious. Camille said it was certainly different from resurrection magic, but in her time there was magic to create a golem, a kind of semblance of a living being. She said it was about 300 years ago, and the demon lord was still alive then. She said that about 400 years ago the demons invaded human territory, that it is mentioned in the legend of the great battle between humans and demons, that since the demon lord was destroyed, just 100 years from the beginning of the war. She said that it is now a lost power of darkness, but back then golems were created with a magical stone made of sulfur, carbon, and other components. She said that they knew neither pain nor fear, that a golem that obeyed orders without complaint was a very unpleasant opponent. Xenos asked her what she had been doing 300 years ago. Thea replied that it was a long time ago, and she no longer remembered. Suddenly they heard some noises. The hero asked what the noise was. Camille, reaching up through the ceiling above, said that it sounded like it was somewhere in the slums. Climbing up to the roof, she said she could not believe her eyes. Camille said that the golem they had just been talking about was rampaging in the slums. The golem was smashing buildings, the non-humans fleeing from it with all their might. Xenos looked on in amazement at this. As he approached the living pile of stones, he said it was a golem. Camilla appeared behind him and said that this, however, was the greatest mystery. The hero shouted that she had frightened him. He wondered if she had come here too. The girl said she couldn't help herself, and was curious to look. She asked how this relic had come into our time. She asked what about Lily. The hero replied that she was still asleep, and it was for the best, for if she saw the monster she would think she was just dreaming. Sophia ran up to them and shouted to the doctor. With her were the rest of the clan heads. Xenos asked them if they were all right. Sophia replied that they had survived somehow. Linga said that many of her subordinates had been hurt. Levi said that there were casualties among the orcs too, and many were seriously wounded. The hero asked what kind of monster it was. He was told that it looked like a golem, an artificial life form from the depths of time. He asked what had happened here. Linga replied that they didn't really know. Levi said that according to her people, the golem came from the depths of the slums. Xenos interjected. He wondered if an underground guild was involved, and what if it was. He shouted to the girls to join forces and gather all the wounded in one place. The hero wondered who was controlling this gigantic semblance of a living thing, and that from the available data it could not be understood. He thought that one thing was certain. Xenos said it would cost him dearly, and for the others to honor his word. The guide looked at the golem through his magical binoculars. He said the destructive power is according to calculations, but he is too slow. He said that unfortunately it was still to be worked on and worked on. The conductor said that for the current order, and this would be enough. He thought about Aston's assignment to deal with one Xenos, his former henchman from his squad. He thought of Aston picking him up in the slums, sheltering him, and his arrogant behavior. He thought about the fact that the head of the group had lost a lot, while Xenos had gained a lot, and such a thing was unforgivable. The guide thought it was extremely selfish to pour out his resentment like that, but he adored such a thing. He liked to see how people behaved, how they felt when they were in a situation. He said that Aston's order was in his best interest. He thought about the fact that at night neither the Imperial Guard Division nor the Imperial Healing Hospital would rush to help, and perhaps they slummed, on principle. He thought that outside help could not be counted on. The guide had heard that Xenos was a healer, but even he would get tired of helping the wounded who just kept coming and coming. He said he would see those who adored him die one by one before his eyes. He thought of the feelings of helplessness and loss that would torment him, whether he would fall to his knees in despair, or whether he would resist just a little and move forward. He asked what Xenos would do and asked him to bask in the glory. The slums continued to crumble. The hero called out to the non-humans to carry the wounded man sooner. He shouted that werewolves had the keenest sense of smell, and to search for the wounded by the scent of blood. Xenos shouted that orcs had strength for 5 and could carry several at a time. He shouted for them to show what they could do. A multitude of wounded lay around the hero. He shouted to Camille to fly aside. Xenos used higher order healing, and a bright light illuminated everything. Many of the wounded regained consciousness, rising from the ground. The hero thought that this was only first aid, and to fully recover he would need to understand the condition of each wounded man individually. He shouted for those who were healed to evacuate sooner. He thought that, lucky for them, the golem was moving slowly, and if one ran as hard as they could, they would be able to escape. The hero shouted out asking how much longer. Camille asked him why he was so agitated. He shouted that he would not be so. He shouted for her to try to beam such a horde of people herself, how many had piled up overnight. He shouted that he couldn't count on compensation, that he was worried about Lily, who had stayed at home, and that he didn't want the villain to have anything to do with it. Reyes said he was complaining, but he didn't think the scheme was a failure. Looking at the hero through binoculars, the guide said, "That's the surprise." He asked if the one here was a special extra class, or, unfortunately, even cooler. He said that of course he'd heard that one had golden hands, but not to this extent. The guide shouted to Xenos to keep it that way, and that he adored those who exceeded his expectations. He shouted that he was in complete earnest, that he was going to save all the wounded, and of course with a nonchalant look. He did not understand why such a capable little fellow died in the slums. The guide said that he recognized the doctor's victory in the first round, but they would argue about the second. The hero told the clan heads to report back to them. Sophia said they had found no more casualties. Xenos thanked them for their work and said he was tired. He was told that thanks to him they had no casualties. He said, "Well, good." Looking at the approaching golem, he said there was only one problem left. He asked Camille what it was. She replied that, as she had said earlier, it was an artificial creature animated by a magic stone. The hero asked if it wouldn't return home by itself when he got tired of it if they left it here. Camille replied that of course not, and having been given an order, the golem would not stop until it had carried it out. Xenos shouted that he could soon get bored with it. Reyes said that she didn't understand one thing, because the high-grade magic stones used to create golems were only fashionable to obtain on the southern continent where the demon lord dwelt. She said that even then, their supplies were kind of exhausted 300 years ago during the great battle between humans and demons, and the system of dark magic has also long been lost, and the training materials are not easily obtainable. She didn't understand who was able to create such a. The hero said that no matter how it was, and his creation in front of their eyes. The girl agreed. Xenos stretched and said there was nothing to be done, that it was time to end the break and move out. Camille asked where to move out. Thoth replied that it was understandable where to go, that to shaft this monster. The clan head shouted that they were going with the doctor. He agreed, but asked if he would go that he could not pay the risk premium. Sophia shouted that she had not given up on them. She shouted that they could not sit idly by while their homes were being destroyed. Linga shouted that these were their neighborhoods and she would not allow them to be trampled on. Levi shouted that let him find out if they were so afraid of him. The hero looked at them in surprise. He said he understood them and thanked them. He added that he was mostly wearing his rear support. He asked Camille how they could best take down the golem. She replied that they should destroy the magic stone it had in its body, and if they didn't, it would constantly regenerate. Xenos pondered that one should destroy the magic stone. He thought that since he had been kicked out of the Golden Phoenix, he would be able to participate in a battle for the first time in a long time. He said it was a pity that the broken magic stone could not be sold afterwards, and they set off. Xenos looked at the golem, contemplating a plan of action. He shouted that they would start by hitting it once as hard as they could. He said there was no need to be afraid and he would back them up, that they could rely on him. The hero used an increase in dexterity, an increase in physical strength, and an increase in attack. Sophia said that it was as if her body had become lighter. Linga said that it was probably all Xenos. Levi said that was great, and now they would set the heat. The girls rushed to attack the golem's legs. A small rift formed in its leg. The hero said that it had been a while since he had used ability enhancement magic, but that was okay. He said it was ready and they could continue. Suddenly the golem squealed and swung hard, ready to attack the girls. He swung his fist and hit Linga. She flew backwards, crashing hard into the wall. The others shouted frighteningly at her. She got up almost immediately. Everyone was glad that she was alive and noticed that surprisingly, she didn't have a scratch on her. They said it was all the magic of Mr. Xenos. Thoth conjured, thinking that he was gradually remembering how to fight better. He thought that it was important to observe two rules. The first was to keep a certain distance so as not to weaken the effect of magic, and the second was that the form of activation of healing, attack and enhancement magic were different, and they could not be applied at the same time. He thought that this was why it was necessary to change from one magic to another more suitable magic in the course of the battle in an instant. Xenos said with a smile that he had more or less got the hang of it. He thought that no matter how much you destroy your arms or legs, they will be rebuilt from dirt and stones, but full recovery takes some time. The hero shouted to everyone that they would all attack both of his legs together. He thought that they would destroy his legs first, and while he was recovering, he would scan him and they would realize where the magic stone was, then they could target the attack. Sophia said who would have thought that the day would come when they would be fighting side by side. Linga said that she thanked Xenos-san for that too. Levi said that this is the first time she is trusted with a light heart to have her back. The guide said that Xenos surprises him again to have achieved such dedication from a hastily formed squad. He said that it was not fair to use special structure magic so cleverly, and the victory in the second round was also his. He said that the climax was very close and asked how he would do this time. The stones began to crumble. The golem, screaming, rose up. Sophia shouted to the doctor that they were in trouble, and there was a baby. There was a little girl sitting on the rocks. The hero stared, and did not know what to do. The frightened little girl sat with her ears covered. The golem approached her, but did not touch her. Sophia was surprised. She immediately ran up to the girl. She managed to take the child in her arms and ran away to the side. Camille said it was unthinkable. She said that golems could only follow simple orders. She asked how it was possible that he acted of his own free will. The girl said that as soon as they started fighting him, he suddenly became angry, which was also strange. Xenos said that she had said that the high-tempered magic stone with which to revive was no longer obtainable, and asked if that was true. Camille answered in the affirmative. The hero asked how life could be forcibly placed into an inferior magical stone. Reyes could not believe it. The doctor said he had completed a scan of the golem, and the magic stone was in his left sternum. He asked the golem if it was Aston. The guide looked at Xenos, and said that he seemed to understand. He said that the highest grade magic stone for the golem core could no longer be obtained, then how to animate with an inferior stone, and then he thought. He said that he decided to take a living person, and by combining together with the magic stone, a new core for the golem could be obtained. The guide thought that, however, it is usually hard to control a person with a complex mixture of emotions, so one with simple and understandable negative emotions is needed, and here Aston just happened to be. He thought the man had a desire for revenge, so he was able, by implanting a magic stone in him, to use him to create a golem. He asked Xenos how he would finish the battle. The guide thought that the magic stone, having been absorbed, was already almost fused with his customer's body, and to destroy the stone, the host's body would have to be sacrificed. He said that an interesting performance awaited him for such a pathetic soul. The hero looked at the golem. He told the girls not to take offense, and that they should back off. Sophia disagreed. Linga shouted that she still had plenty of strength. Levi shouted to provide the front line to them. Xenos apologized and said that he was the only one who could settle the matter with him. The girls looked at him in surprise. Just as he said, they backed off. Camille said that it was about to dawn, and it was time for her to go back as she could not stand the sun. The hero replied that he too would be back soon. He turned to Aston and said that it was just the two of them left here. He said that their history with him began the moment he called him, and it was not like him to save a child. He thought that Aston seemed to be from down under. Gale said he was obsessed with money and position in society. Yuma answered him that it was because he couldn't buy medicine for his little sister, and she died. Xenos thought that the sight of the crying child perhaps reminded him of his dead little sister, and the human essence, though barely visible, was still present in him. The golem suddenly became enraged, and swung his fists at the hero. The latter said that it was unbearable for the golem to see that a dog that had been picked up and then abandoned looked happier than he did. He said it was a mystery to him how the one had determined at a glance that he had nowhere to go, but now he understood. He said that Aston, just like him, had no place of his own. The golem struck with all his might. Dust kicked up. Xenos used his leg enhancement, deftly rebounding. He said it was not his concern now, and produced a magical scalpel. He dashed towards the golem with a shout, holding a huge scalpel. The hero began swinging the scalpel at the rocks. He kept working, but then stopped. The golem loomed over him, and reached out to him. His legs had already been cut off, and snapped. The monster began to tumble downwards until he landed on the ground. Xenos swung his scalpel, and began to hit it right across the chest. Finally, he succeeded in making a hole. Aston emerged from the golem. The hero said that here they were meeting again, and while it wasn't that he was eager for this meeting, this was the last time he would look at his face. With the scalpel he began to attack Aston. He said it was time to end their adventure with him. Blood spurted. The guide, watching, said that Xenos had decided to do this, and he did not think that he could kill without hesitation, that he had counted on a more exciting climax. Suddenly he noticed that something was wrong here. The hero continued to pound the scalpel without stopping. Sophia said that it would hurt a little and one should be patient. Linga asked why Doc was fiddling around in there so long. Levi said that he would take him down in one fell swoop. She said that Xenos was probably doing something unimaginable. he continued. The guide realized that he wasn't just swinging his sword. In between attacks, he used healing. The guide said that by destroying the stone, he was also restoring his body. He said that he cut out the area fused with the magic stone and gradually regenerated the parts freed from the shards of the stone. He thought that one careless movement could cut off Aston's life, and if he began to hesitate, the stone would corrode the restored section in a flash. The guide was surprised. Aston asked Xenos why he did it. The man asked if he had woken up. He said that even if Aston died, it would make everyone feel better, the world, the people around him, and him. The head of the group asked again what it was all for then. The hero asked if he had completely lost his mind. He said that the one had destroyed himself, and one could not pay for all that he had done, so they would track down those behind it, and if the one was going to die, he should first squeeze out the whereabouts of the organizer. He said that this is the first reason. He said that the second reason was that with the money that the latter had given him on a whim, he had saved Lily and set himself up as a healer, and just one coin had turned his life around. Xenos said there was a third and most important reason not to nail him. He said it was because he was a healer. Aston was shocked. Finally, he was freed from the magic stone. The hero asked him if he understood, calling him a jerk. The man replied that he had understood, and it was now clear to him, to his disgust, how awesome Xenos really was. He said that what he had done was beyond human ability. He said he had lost everything and asked if the one was telling him to go on living. The hero replied to let him decide for himself. Aston said he found it hard to imagine why the one was helping the bad guys, that the one had always supported them, and he suddenly felt so disgusted. He said that he had been used by other people all his life and ended up being used himself, that it was such an irony. He said he realized that whatever he said was all empty, but asked to be allowed to say at least this. Aston fell at Xenos' feet and apologized. The latter scratched his head. He said enough was enough for Aston to raise his head. The boy shouted back that he hadn't apologized enough. The hero repeated that enough was enough. He said with a smile that it was uncomfortable to hit in that position and asked if that was true. Aston interjected. The doctor said that since the latter had come to his senses, he could hold back no longer. Toth asked what he meant. The hero used the ability enhancement and oodles of punching power. He said that he had just saved some magic for just such an occasion. Aston asked him to wait. Xenos said the last reason he left him alive was that he wouldn't feel better if he didn't get back at him when he was unconscious. He yelled that he was the reason he had to plow on, the jerk, and asked if he thought he would just kneel and he would forgive everything. The hero hit Aston with his fist with all his might. The man groaned and flew high up. Someone was telling him to get up. As he stood up, he saw Krishna. She said that she had come after receiving a report of a monster attack, and that this was the second time she had seen him. She said that the last time he had disgracefully escaped. Aston asked where Xenos was. The girl replied that she had met him on the way here, and he had told her everything. She said it was a miracle that no one had died in such a disaster, and he owed Xenos his life. The boy agreed. Krishna said she charged Aston Biringal for attempted assault, fleeing, perjury, ordering revenge, indiscriminate violence, property damage and other such acts, that he was under arrest, and was also guilty of indecent assault. The man said he admits it. The girl said that Xenos had asked him to give something to. She conveyed that while he was lying faint, the hero confiscated the sword, and for the masterpiece of the underground labyrinth, he will be able to get a tidy sum of money, that the sword will not return, so Aston must accept, and this is the first. Toth said that he really lost everything. Krishna said that there was a second thing that the hero asked to be conveyed. She held out a coin and conveyed that it was a coin in exchange for Aston not contacting him again. The man was surprised. He burst into tears. The girl said that he was a grown man, and he was being a sissy, that he had yet to really cry. The guide said that a division of the Imperial Guard had also joined. He said that times seemed to be changing. He said that at the center of these changes is, of course, a healer from the back of the slums, and that it is a busy gathering. The guide said he would not forget Xenos, that they would surely play with him again. At this time the hero complained about how tired he was. He said that he was so tired that he would soon collapse from overwork. Levi noticed that he could barely walk and offered to help. He said it wasn't worth it, because they were tired too. The girls all picked him up together. He asked what they were doing. Sophia asked why the doctor was so embarrassed, for he always takes care of them. Linga repeated the same words. Levi told her not to cheat. Zeno said let it be so and that sometimes one could. They approached the house. The hero opened the door. He was greeted by Lily and Camilla, who asked if their impertinent little fellow was all right. Lily said that Camille was so worried about Zenos that she was running circles around the house. She shouted that the girl was a fool. Lily said that she too was worried when she heard what had happened, but knew that he would surely come back. She congratulated the hero on his return. Zenos' eyes shone. He thought that once Aston had come to him, sitting alone in the slums, sheltered him in his squad, and later kicked him out of it, that he now realized that he didn't belong there to begin with, but through it all, he had finally found more. Zenos said cheerfully that here he was home. He thought that this asylum amidst the ruins, on the backside of the imperial capital, where strange personalities had coincidentally gathered, had become his home. Wamin was in the Imperial Healing Hospital, the headquarters of the healers of the Haz's Empire, the great power also known as the Empire of the Sun. The girl approached Dr. Becca, asking if she could ask him a question. The man asked her with a smile what the matter was. She wondered. She asked if it was possible that there was an unlicensed healer who used extra-class magic. The doctor wondered. He asked if something had happened, adding that he expected her to call for lunch. The girl replied that she had already had lunch. She said that he did not usually have lunch after all as he was busy all the time. The man replied that that was also true. He said that she had a rather odd question. Wamin said she was just curious if such a thing was possible. Becca asked to let him think about it. He said that not having a license could mean that either he had no formal education or he had failed the exam. The girl agreed. He said that in this way he thought the one would have been able to reach a high level. He said that if suddenly such an individual existed, it was so cool. Wamin was very surprised and asked again. The doctor told her to judge for herself that it was phenomenal, because usually one only gets a license after a long apprenticeship, and then one goes to the highest level, starting as an apprentice, then entry level, middle level, and only a few people reach the highest level, after which only a handful of people with outstanding abilities and who have achieved a lot reach the extra class level. He asked if it was not admirable that a self-taught person could reach such a level. Wamin agreed. Becca said that if there was such a person, he would love to meet that person, even though it would be problematic. He asked if unlicensed activity was subject to suppression. The girl replied that it was. He asked what her question was then. Wamin was surprised at his response. She said that she just wanted to make sure, remembering the incident with the monster a week ago in the slums. Wamin asked the other healers why it took the headquarters so long to send healers to the slums, adding that if there were seriously injured people there, they were long overdue. One of the healers replied that there was nothing they could do, and it was a slum. The girl said that if it is a wounded person, it makes no difference where he is from, urban neighborhoods or slums. The guy replied that there is a difference, and that is why they were sent as volunteers and not in full uniform as they are supposed to be. He said that they did not know how true the rumors about the appearance of the monster were. He said that he had heard that a division of Imperial Guards had apprehended a suspect, and it was also rumored that they were refraining from making statements to avoid unrest. Upon reaching the right place, they were very surprised. They saw severely destroyed buildings. The healers could not believe that a monster had really been here. They thought it was all tall tales. The boy asked where the monster that had been here had gone. They decided the first thing to do was to gather the victims in one place, asking the inhabitants to help. After learning that there were no casualties, Wamin couldn't believe it. She was told that whoever they asked, everyone said that no one needed a healer. The girl cried out, asking how it was possible with such a disaster. The guy said he had a guess. He said that there were really no casualties and the residents staged the whole thing to bring confusion to the headquarters. The girl asked why they were doing all this. The guy replied that he didn't know, but maybe they just didn't trust them, although they had wounded. As he left, he said that whatever it was, and there was nothing for them to do here. Wamin thought for a moment. She wondered what benefit they had in destroying their homes for the sake of staging, and besides, if someone close to them was injured, someone would definitely seek help. She had an inkling. She thought that the injured people were still there, and they were all healed by someone else, that is, whether a healer who could heal with extra-class magic. She remembered Aston talking about a healer without a license, and didn't understand who he might have thought that. She wondered if there was an extra-class healer hiding somewhere in this country that headquarters didn't know about. She said that there couldn't be, could there? The girl thought she felt she was talking nonsense, and whether she should continue. Becca asked what she was thinking about. Wamin was distracted from her thoughts. The doctor looked at her and said he would go on a home visit. He asked if she would join. The replied that she had just recently been on a takeaway. Becca said that home visits in medically underserved areas are also a worthwhile job in an imperial hospital. He asked if that incident had excited her. She replied that perhaps it did. The doctor said he understood her perfectly well, but if she worried too much, her health would be shaken, and that was no business. He showed the envelope and said that he actually had something else here and that it was a request for a home visit. He handed over the envelope and said that this place was recommended for people who felt tired, and at any rate, people who craved wellness gathered at this address. The girl was surprised that this was a place where people gathered. She thought that if it was, perhaps she could find the person she was looking for. Krishna told Xenos that in the end the organizer of that golem incident was never found, and all that is known is that he called himself the Guide. The hero said that as far as he could remember, the Guide was from an underground guild and would take on any assignment, depending on the conditions. He said he would engrave the name in his memory, and would be sure to shake off his debt to him one day. The girl agreed, but said there was something else. She said that when she came to the secret hiding place indicated by Aston, it was completely empty, without any trace of him. Sophia said she had also tried to find out about the Guide. She said that when she instructed her little brother to investigate the underground guild, it turned out that the Guide had appeared there relatively recently, and rumor had it that he was an outcast and didn't socialize with anyone in the guild. Linga said she was also finding out, but heard the same thing. Levi said that in the underworld, there was an immutable rule of not prying into another's soul. She said she thought there was a limit to what could be accomplished by questioning alone. Krishna said that the Imperial Guard was also looking for the Guide as a dangerous criminal, and the fact that he had covered his tracks meant that he had gone underground. Sophia said that sooner or later he would decide to turn up and then she would track him down. Linga agreed and said that he must be up to something. Levi said that this is an adversary who cannot be taken so easily and maybe he is in his secret hideout. Krishna addressed them, calling them bandits, and suggested that they stop speculating and say something definite. Sophia got angry and asked if she herself was making conjectures. Krishna replied that she was not, and that she was basing her conjecture on the investigation and the search. Xenos asked them to be quiet. He suggested that they stop shouting while standing in different corners. The Iron Lady said that a representative of the Imperial Guard could not sip tea in the company of bandits. Sophia shouted that it was not her place to say that. She asked what the one was even here. Krishna said that making a progress report for those involved was the right thing to do and asked which of them was taking up Mr. Zeno's precious time. The head of the lizardmen said that these are words, empty words. Krishna asked whether it was necessary to show clearly that they were not empty words. The hero, seeing them off, said that there was no point in quarreling here, that he was tired today, so it was time for them to go home. Krishna remembered something about Aston. She said that it turns out that no one but her had mentioned Xenos by name in any of the interviews. She said that Aston had said he dared not tell her about his affairs, and perhaps the latter cared for him in his own way. She said that Xenos's merits were only growing. He replied that he did not like to stand out, that he did not need all these achievements and recognitions, that it was enough for him just to be paid for his labors. The girl replied that she knew he would say that. She said that as soon as they found the semiconductor, she would contact him immediately. Lily brought the hero some tea and offered him a treat. He thanked her. The girl turned to him and said that something had occurred to her. The hero asked what it was. She asked if it was that he had had a very difficult time in his recent fight with the golem. The one replied that it had been a long time since he had been so tired. She said that therefore, to unwind a little, the two of them could go out together. The girl could not finish from embarrassment, saying only the first letter. Xenos interjected. Lily shouted that they would go together to he. Very embarrassed, she managed to say that she meant with her in once. Suddenly Sophia appeared, shouting to the doctor. The latter asked her what was the matter and whether she had forgotten something. The girl replied that, in fact, she had a small proposal and was waiting for Linga and Levi to leave. She asked if he had had a very hard time in the recent fight with the golem. The hero replied that he hadn't been so tired in a long time. Sophia said that was why she had a suggestion. She asked if they should go to the onsen. She said that it was a spacious font with warm water, and it would surely take all the fatigue off him. Zenos replied that indeed, such a thing never hurt. The girl rejoiced, and said that he had promised. Suddenly Linga came in. The hero asked what was the matter, and whether she had forgotten anything. The girl replied that she actually had a small proposal. She suggested to go to the onsen. She said that if he took a bath with her in the warm water, he would be tired. He said that was fine. Linga said cheerfully that he had promised. Levi came next, shouting that she had one suggestion. Zenos asked if she was about onsen, expecting to be confirmed right. She asked in surprise how he had guessed, adding that their thoughts were in complete agreement. The hero said that they girls were right on the same page. Suddenly Krishna came in. She said that she had one suggestion. Zenos shouted in surprise that she had one too. As he said goodbye to her, he wondered if she had sung with them and why they were all gushing about onsen. He asked Lily what she wanted to say. The girl pouted angrily. She turned away and shouted that it was nothing anymore. The hero was puzzled. Camilla came down and said she never tired of watching the unsavory skirmishes between the women. The doctor said he still couldn't understand how such a high-level undead could stoop to such a thing. The one leaving said that it had been so long since she had been to the onsen. The hero wondered if she wanted to go there too. The onsen resort town of Flam is about half a day's carriage ride from the royal capital, and is famous for its healing fonts and abundance of springs with healing properties. Lying in the font, Zenos said that it is a grace. He said that it was good that he went. Suddenly someone addressed him. The hero turned round. Standing in front of him was Zofia. He said that it was the male half after all. The girl offered to at least rub his back, adding that it was a pleasure trip after all. The hero told her to go back to the female half before the commotion started. The head of the lizard said not to worry, and that she had put up a cleaning sign as soon as she walked in here, that this place was all theirs. Sophia, approaching the doctor, shouted that it was just the two of them here. She said that in fact, she wanted to go so badly, but was afraid that Zenos would hate her for it, that lately her brother and subordinates were telling her that she had changed. She said she thought it was all because she had met him, that he didn't just heal wounds, but change the man himself. She said she was sure the world would change with him. The hero replied that she was exaggerating. The girl said that it is he thinks so, but those around him will not get away from him, even like this jointly basking in the water. Zenos turned to her. He said that she was getting closer and closer to something. The one shouted that he was burning and she was so eager to catch him off guard and grab him. Suddenly Linga appeared. She shouted for Zofia to stop and that it was not fair to cheat. She was frightened. The girl shouted that it was the male half and asked what the one was up to. The head of the lizardmen said that she was up to nothing and asked what the Ta herself was up to. Linga shouted that she was flying to bathe, jumping into the font. The hero asked if she was joking. Zofia shouted that Linga dare not approach the dock so freely. The latter shouted back that she was just dizzy. Zofia asked if such a thing was even possible with her stamina. Levi shouted for them to stop, asking if they had already forgotten about her. She laughed loudly and said that she had hidden in the water, waiting for Zenos, but had fainted and they had brought her to her senses with their commotion. The hero asked if she had overdone it. Levi said she had great style. Zofia shouted that it was nothing of the sort. Linga shouted that she was the one with the beautiful one. The doctor said that actually he wanted to sit in silence. Suddenly someone shouted to the girls asking what they had arranged, calling them bandits. It was Krishna, and she shouted that the male half was here. The girls asked if she too had come to see Zenos. The one shouted that they were mistaken, and she had just made a mistake and gone to the wrong place. Everyone decided that she was definitely lying. Krishna shouted that it did not matter and that Sophia dared not approach the hero in such a shameless manner. The latter shouted that one hindrance more. Linga shouted that she would not lose and that Zenos would burn her insolent body with his gaze. Thoth became very angry from arguing. He shouted for them all to go to the women's side at once. Women was also in the font. Hearing something, she turned round. She said that she had deliberately chosen an inn where there were few people, and it would be unfortunate if there were strange individuals here. She said that a mysterious extra-class healer lurking in the darkness seemed too far-fetched. Suddenly the girl heard shouts of someone all ladylike and no shame. It was the heads of the clans and Krishna. Sophia shouted that it was not Krishna's place to instruct her. Linga said she thought she was embarrassed. Levi said she wanted to show off her naked body more. Wamin was surprised, suggesting that they were thugs. She thought it was unusual to have different species together. She was noticed by Sophia. She asked if the girl wanted something. She replied that there was nothing. She watched the girls leaving, listening to their conversations. Suddenly someone said that it was good for them. Wamin was surprised and began to look round. Out of the water came Lily. The girl thought how pretty that elf girl was. The girl said that if she had those shapes, she would have broken into a male woman too. The girl wondered. Lily, holding her breasts, looked around. Wamin assumed that she was talking about her girlfriends. Camille told Lily that there was nothing to worry about, and she would still have time to grow up. She said that a larger size was not always more attractive. The girl interjected. Ray said that there are some things that children can't understand. Lily told her that her body was more transparent than usual. Camille looked at herself. She asked the merciful Buddha if she was ascending to heaven, adding that she was disappearing. Lily fearfully chased after her with shouts. Wamin turned to them and asked if something had happened. Looking at Camille, she asked if it was Ray's. The girl fearfully created a magic circle and asked why there were high-level undead here. The ghost said she would disappear for a day and flew away. She was shouted to that one next. Linga asked Xenos why not. Wamin looked at the bandits and said that it was amazing that they were sitting around like nothing. She surmised that she was imagining things and that it looked like she was really overworked. The clan leaders and the others offered drinks, thanking the doctor for everything. Their table was richly set. Lily happily said how delicious it was. Krishna was sitting alone at another table. The girls were discussing that she seemed to have been staring at them for a long time, and they felt waves of hatred. Xenos turned to her. He said that there was no need for such a face and suggested that she sit down with them. The girls shouted that no way in hell, and that no one from the Imperial Guard standing guard of order would toast the ringleaders of the underworld. The girls said then they would have fun themselves. The hero said that this soup was very tasty. Lily said it was really delicious. Sophia said it was a real food heaven. Levi said her stomach could hold everything. Krishna said that alcohol is so bitter today. Lily replied that maybe it's the tears. Looking at the girl, Xenos was surprised. He asked where Camille was. Lily said that the one informed him that she would be drinking alone in the room. The hero wondered. Wamin walked on saying that it was so delicious that she couldn't help herself and ate too much. She said that next time she would come with her friends and healers. Before the door opened, something stopped her. She had a strange feeling. The girl surmised that it must be because she was tired and decided that she would go straight to bed. Opening the door, she was surprised. Some squelching sounds were heard. Wamin went to the other door and grabbed the handle. Camille was there. Grimacing, she said the alcohol was creeping in. The girl looked at her in surprise. She shouted that was it really Ray's. Camille said she had the wrong room and walked away through the wall. Wamin said in surprise that it was not a dream, and that let it be a dream. Xenos with Lily on his back said that they were back. He asked Camille if something had happened in the next room. She replied that she didn't know, and maybe he had imagined it. He put Lily down and went back to the living room. Sitting down on the sofa, he said he was tired. The girl asked if the banquet had been fun. The hero replied that it had been until the middle. He said then came, drinking away, a drunken Krishna, and began to rampage. The girl cried out in tears that she still wanted to drink beside Mr. Xenos. He said that they had a competition to see who would drink the most, where the winner would somehow sit on his lap. He asked if the banquet was in his honor. Camille said it would be for him to have fun. She told him to enjoy the hustle and bustle of life now, and that such peaceful days would not last forever. The hero asked how she had got there, adding that it was only here that he had already paid attention. She began to explain. Xenos turned around. The girl said that she was a spirit, and so could inhabit things dear to her heart, that she had inhabited this staff during the day, and then Lily had brought it with her. Xenos asked if the staff meant her. Camilla replied that it was correct. The doctor said he had not asked her before, but inquired what she had done in a past life. The girl said it was so long ago that it had already been erased from her memory. The hero said that she was sticking her nose into other people's business herself and not a word about herself. She replied that it was not interesting to talk about herself, and other people's pity stories were the best appetizer for a drink. She offered him a drink, calling him a poor man suffering from the attention of women. Xenos brought his cup over, and the girl poured him one. The morning came. Sitting at the table, Wumin yawned. She had said she had come here to relieve her fatigue, but it was the opposite. Suddenly she noticed something strange. She came into the corridor shouting, asking what was wrong. There was smoke coming from the room. As she entered the room, she saw a woman trying to get the man to wake up. Wumin asked her if the woman was all right and what had happened. The woman replied that he was in charge of cooking, and when she entered the kitchen she heard a loud popping noise. The girl was frightened. She saw the man's hand, which was in a terrible condition. Looking at the floor, the girl realized what was the matter. She said that perhaps a magical fire stone had exploded. The woman said that she had told him more than once to throw away that old stone. She kept asking him to wake up. She shouted that he should be shown to a healer. Wumin said that she was the healer. The woman was surprised. She begged for help. The girl said she would try to do something and created a magic circle. The woman asked how he was. Wumin said she would save his life. She thought about the fact that as long as magic controlled the pain and the growth of the damage, it would be a good idea to transport the man to the healing center of the city, that his fingers were badly burned, it would be problematic to fully repair them, and it was likely that he would no longer be able to hold a kitchen knife. She was thinking about how to tell her about it. Suddenly someone asked what had happened. It was Xenos. He said a guest that he heard an explosion and came to find out what had happened. He asked if it was a burn and assumed it was from a magical firestone. Wumin shouted that she wanted to transport him to the Imperial Healing Hospital in the city center, and there he would be helped to recover in the high-level magic circle. The hero was surprised that there was even such a thing, adding that it sounded interesting. He said that, however, there was no need for it. The girl was surprised. Lily ran up and asked what had happened. Xenos said that there was a small fire, everything was fine, that it was already time to move out and they were on their way. He said he didn't want to lose the opportunity to taste the delicious food here again, so he owed her a return favor. The hero used healing magic. Wumin shouted at him to stop, asking where he was going. The man stood up and looked at his fully healthy arm in surprise. The woman was overjoyed and began to thank Wumin. The woman was puzzled. She didn't understand how this could have happened, how he was able to completely heal such a burn in an instant without the help of a magic circle. She thought that the only ones who could replicate such a thing were extra-class healers endowed with holy power. She ran out into the corridor and then outside. There was a carriage at the door. The girl decided that she was definitely not dreaming this time. She concluded that there was one in this country after all, a mysterious healer of extra class lurking in the darkness. Wumin told Becca what had happened. She said she still saw Reyes cuddled up with a bottle of sake and gangsters from different clans getting along. The doctor said he was glad she had a chance to unwind, but there was something. He couldn't believe in an extra-class healer who cured a severe burn in no time. The girl said it was true. She asked if they would take him for supervision if he worked without a license. Becca replied that they probably would. He said that there are only about 10 healers of that caliber in the whole country, that they are very valuable personnel, and naturally the state wants to keep them under control. Wumin said that she had been careless, and he had left. She asked for forgiveness. Recalling Lily's appeal, she said that his name seemed to be Xenos, that she had checked the list of all registered healers, but no such name was there. The doctor asked if she remembered anything else. The girl replied that there was very little time. Becca said that there was nothing to be done, that he didn't seem like a bad person, so no harm would come if they left him alone, and that if the management got wind of it, they would of course be reprimanded. Suddenly Wumin remembered something. She said about the appearance that the healer was wearing a black cloak. The doctor's face changed and he asked again if it was an extra-class healer wearing a black cloak. The girl asked if something was wrong. He said he had changed his mind. He offered to take up the search for the healer in earnest. The girl agreed but asked why he had changed his mind. Becca said that he really wanted to meet him as one of the extra-class healers. Zandi told the hero that his stomach had been hurting since this morning. The latter said that it looked like he also had a fever, after which he asked Lily to put him to bed. The girl agreed and carried out the instruction. Xenos used the scan. He said he could see inflammation in his stomach and asked if Zandi had eaten something wrong. The man replied that yesterday's meat tasted a little strange. The hero said that food poisoning was then possible. He said he would start by relieving the pain and strengthening the body's resistance. He said it would be a good idea to put in a drip to prevent dehydration, but there is no suitable water here. He said that as soon as the patient felt better, he would drink water. The man agreed. He said he felt noticeably better and thanked him. The doctor told him to conserve his strength. Lily was surprised that the hero could cure diseases too. He replied that it depends on which ones. He said that if you just cut out the affected area, it's easy, but if the disease has spread throughout the body, he can only increase the body's resistance. Xenos said that it was true that together with medicines it was more useful, but without a license he could not procure medicines. He said that once there was an epidemic in the capital and many people died in the slums. He said that a cure had been developed, that many lives had managed to be saved, and then he realized how amazing medicines were. The girl wondered. Suddenly someone shouted to the doctor. The bandits entered the house. Xenos asked them what was the matter. Sophia told him that there was no time to relax. She said that there was a girl in a white cloak prowling around the slums. Judging by her uniform, she was from the Imperial Healing Center, and she was sniffing around. The hero interjected. He asked if the Imperial Healing Hospital was in the business of stocking nameless healers in the slums. The girl said that the doc might be nameless, but he was quite unremarkable. She said that in her opinion, she thought Mr. Xenos' way of healing was very distinguished, and as a result, he was discovered. Lily asked what to do. The hero hesitated for a moment. He asked what type of person was looking for him. Sophia said that according to the subordinates it was a damsel with glasses and blue hair, asking everyone in the neighborhood if they had heard of the healer Xenos. The doctor cried out, that is not the one from Ancina Paflama. He shouted that who knew that one was from the Imperial Healer. Levi said that perhaps it wasn't that much to worry about. She said that everyone in the slum was grateful to him, and she didn't think they would blab. The girl said the Imperial cure would not wreak havoc like the guide. She suggested that if they continued to ignore her, maybe that would be the end of it. Xenos hesitated. He said that they would have to wait it out for a while, and then they would see from there. Womin told Becca that it was useless. She said that she spends every day in the slums, but whoever she asks, they all say they have heard nothing about him. She asked why they limited their search to the slums. The doctor replied that if the healer had been running an underground business in the city center, he would have been reported immediately. He said that if there were no injuries in that incident with the monster, thanks to him, he definitely had strong connections with the slums. He asked the girl how long she had been walking in the slums. The woman replied that 10 days since. Becca said that it was time to stop asking then, that she had plenty of other work to do, and she shouldn't try harder. She said she couldn't just quit like that. She suggested going to higher-ups and requesting support. The doctor replied that unfortunately their information was not complete to report to them. Womin cried out, asking if they would give up halfway through. He replied in the affirmative. He said that he had realized one important thing. It was true that even in 10 days of visiting the slums you cannot get anything out. Lily looked out the window and turned to Xenos. She said that it seemed that the girl from the asylum was no longer appearing. He replied that that was fine. Someone entered the house and addressed the doctor. A probe with a man on his shoulder said it was a seriously ill person. The hero asked if the man was lying in the street. The lizard answered in the affirmative. He said that the one was spitting blood, and so he decided to bring him to Xenos. Lily said that if he had left him there, it could have caused an epidemic. The hero said that Zandi did the sensible thing. They put the patient on the bed and the doctor began the scan. He said that the boy's lungs were badly affected, especially in the upper part. Suddenly he was frightened. He told the others to stand back. Lily asked what was the matter. The hero said it couldn't be. He realized it was consumption. The doctor told Lily that he had told her about the epidemic, and that it looked similar. He said that it was believed that this disease had been defeated by a developed cure. Xenos said that still something is different, that it looks similar, but something is wrong. The patient suddenly stood up. He said that it was incredible and that it was amazing diagnostic skills. He said that if you can't even find a rumor in 10 days of searching, it means either there is no such person or everyone is hiding him, and if the second, then everyone in the slum trusts him. He said he thought if he pretended to be seriously ill, someone would help get him to this man. The boy approached the dark healer from the ruined neighborhood and asked permission to introduce himself. He said he was Ernard Becca, an extra-class healer of the Imperial Healing Hospital. He said that healing magic was not really his thing. Xenos was surprised that the man was an extra-class healer. He asked what about the consumption. The doctor wanted to explain himself, but suddenly someone shouted, addressing him. Wamin was standing in the door. The hero shouted that it was that damsel from the inn by flame. The one shouted that it was the same healer, and he is after all. Ernard turned to her. The maiden shouted that he was pretending to be gravely ill, he was being treated and she was to follow him, that this was out of all proportion. The one replied that if he didn't do it that way, it wouldn't work. Suddenly he coughed up blood, to which Wamin and Lily were very frightened. He said that it was a bad thing that the effect should be weaker but felt stronger. Xenos looked at him. He asked Dr. Becky how he got himself to this point. He replied that it was simple. He took out a vial and said that to pretend he was seriously ill he had drunk a mixture that simulated the symptoms of consumption, that it metabolized quickly and its effects disappeared, so it would not kill him. He said that he drank the antidote too, so it was fine. The hero asked where the man got this mixture. Ernard said with a smile that he had made it himself, since he had once developed a cure for consumption. Xenos was surprised that it was him. Woman said that it was. She told him passionately that Dr. Becca had developed cures for consumption, whooping cough, scarlet fever, that because of his achievements he had been given an extra class level and he was an amazing man. Toth embarrassedly said that he would be to her, and there was nothing wrong with that. He said they needed to get down to business, and from the looks of it, there was no license to practice medicine. Zandi was getting angry. He apologized to the hero and said it was his fault. He said he would delay them at all costs so that he would run away. Lily shouted that they would not give up Xenos, that they were all here relying on him. Ernard said it seems that local favorite. Wamin suggested asking him to help with that case. The doctor replied that it was an internal matter that didn't concern him. The girl said that was why it was sometimes easier to work from the outside. She said that when the man suddenly said he would be looking for him, that was what she thought of. Dr. Becca said that in fact, when he heard about the extra-class healer in the black cloak, he thought of his old acquaintance, but in the end, it turned out not to be him. He said that when they discovered underground activity, because of their position, they had to stop it, and that they would gather information from the nearest healing centers. Suddenly he turned his attention to a coat rack. Ernard asked Xenos if it was his cloak. He replied that it was, but that it had previously belonged to his mentor. The doctor asked what his name was. The hero replied that he didn't know, and that the latter had never mentioned his name. Suddenly Becca said that he had changed his mind. He said that they would assign that case to him. Wamin asked if he was sure. Dr. Becca turned to Xenos and asked if he could visit the Imperial Hospital. The hero was puzzled. Xenos interrogated whether he was being told to come to the Imperial Treatment Center. Ernard said that, to be honest, he wanted to ask for his help with a case. He said that a person from the outside with healing magic would be best suited for the case. The hero hesitated for a moment. Someone shouted to him. The bandits came into the house. Sophia shouted for him not to listen to what they were pouring into him. The doctor said he was Becca from the Imperial Healing Hospital and was glad to meet him. He said he offered Xenos a deal and in exchange he would turn a blind eye to his clandestine activities. Linga asked where was the guarantee that he would keep his word. Levi shouted, asking how they could trust someone who was a government henchman. Looking out the window, Wamin shouted to the doctor. A multitude of non-humans with weapons gathered around the house. The hero asked Sophia where they were from. She replied that they hung a red flag on the first floor. Xenos was surprised. The flag was hung by Camille, and it signifies an emergency. Sophia yelled for them to try to take their dock. Levi yelled that if they took a single step outside, her men would act on their own. Wamin was terrified. Becca said he knew that the hero had favored the slum dwellers, but he couldn't believe that so much so that the different tribes would unite to protect him. He said he was not sure that such a thing had ever been done before by anyone. He asked for his forgiveness, adding that he had behaved inexcusably rudely. He asked Xenos if he could make a clean request, adding that he was willing to negotiate terms and pay him. The latter agreed. Lily shouted to him. Sophia asked if he was sure. The hero said that he himself was interested in seeing the Imperial Healing Facility, that they now had something to offer in exchange for silence about underground activities. He said that, in addition, Becca himself pretended to be gravely ill, though he could have easily framed another by poisoning him instead. He said that the fact that the doctor had not done so spoke in his favor. Ernard said he felt like forgiving himself. Zenos said that during the consumption epidemic, medicines were distributed free in the slums and many lives were saved by this. He asked if Becca had done that. Womin said that many people were against such a thing, but the doctor himself distributed medicines in the slums. The hero said there was more to it. He asked if the man knew his mentor. Ernard replied that if the latter went to the Imperial Cure, they could discuss things thoroughly there. Zenos asked if it was a deal after all, adding that the latter was a shrewd fellow. Dr. Becca extended his hand. He welcomed the hero to the Imperial Hospital. Toth thought of the Imperial Healing Hospital as the headquarters of the healers located in the administrative section of the aristocrats' privileged neighborhood. He said that it was impressive. Womin said that it's a large area, so it's easy to get lost. Ernard suggested that they go to his laboratory first. They walked down the corridor. The hero stopped, looking at a beautiful building. Zenos said that such splendor made his head spin. He asked if there was a darker, smaller, and more secluded place. The girl said that it sounded like a reclusive place. They went upstairs and went through one of the doors. There were many books in the room. The hero said that this room had a calming effect. Ernard said not to speak of a stranger's room as if it were the refuge of a recluse. He offered to run through the details of his case again. Zenos asked if it was true that it was a missing persons investigation. Woman said that a member of Dr. Beck's lab was missing. She said that he had not returned home, that they had tried to talk to the administration, but they were not taking it seriously. Ernard said that asking the Imperial Guard Division to do so would not work because the nature of the incident was unclear. Hero agreed and said that searching for people is not their specialty. The doctor said they were in a situation where they had no other option but to ask him to gather information for them. He said that besides sometimes it is easier to move around because he is an outsider by holding out his name tag to him. He said that students who have passed the special course are entitled on recommendation to participate in the educational program of the Imperial Healing Hospital. The doctor said that many people from different wards come there, and it would be easier to gather information. Zenos asked if his identity would raise questions. The doctor said not to worry about that. He said, showing the new form, that here the hero is simply Zenos, who has recently returned from abroad. He said that normally there was an identity check, but his position allowed him to limit himself to a simple check. Zenos asked if that meant that if he did something wrong, Ernard and bear the responsibility for it. The latter replied that they were together. He said that the program classes start tomorrow, and in the meantime the hero could settle down in the dorm room and see him while he was here. Lily met him there, congratulating him on his return. The hero asked her why she was here. Womin said that Dr. Becca had told her that it was okay for her to live here with her spouse or next of kin. Jerry said it was because she was Zenos' fiancée. Womin said that's not true, and she's listed as the little sister. Lily pouted. The girl said she thought it would be safer if it was an acquaintance, and yes, it would be taken care of. The hero thanked. They said goodbye until tomorrow, and the girl left the room. Lily turned to Zenos, calling him dear. She asked if he would eat, or bathe, or maybe her. Thoth asked if she had not messed up anything, for she was a sissy. The girl pouted again. He asked from whom she had learned such a thing. Camille said it was from her. The hero was startled at her appearance and shouted, wondering why she was here. He asked why she had appeared. The one replied that it was clear, just to tease. He asked how else? Zenos said that she had shown up at the healer's lair, and that if she was discovered she would be banished. The girl screamed, asking if she could tease if she was afraid of an exorcism. The hero said she was in her repertoire. Camille said it wasn't every day that someone with his healing magic showed up. Zenos asked again if she had said anything. Reyes replied that she had said nothing. She asked as soon as a small request from the Imperial Healing Hospital managed to escalate into a ridiculously big deal. The hero said that she had just arrived and already you were escalating, and asked her to stop. Later, he sat alone at a table. Womin came up to him and asked him how the orientation went. He replied that it looked like he had a lot to do, and he had no idea how to become a simple healer. The girl said that she understood. She explained how the licensing system worked, that first one took the appropriate exams in the healer training shock, then several years of study, a qualified healer exam, and a license. She said that there were then several options, such as working in the Imperial Healing Department, gaining experience, and starting one's own business, becoming qualified as an adventurer, becoming a military healer, and treating only royalty and aristocrats. Xenos asked if the Imperial healer was in charge of all of them. Wamin replied that those who want to do research and education, learn about advanced treatments, and participate in the development and management of the facilities come here. The hero said that he was dizzy from all this, with circles in front of his eyes. He asked to talk about the missing staff member for now. The girl agreed. She said his name was Alfred and he was her senior mate. She said he was excellent in everything, intelligent, kind and caring. Wamin said that Dr. Becca had told her that he too had made significant contributions to the development of a cure for consumption, that he hoped one day to be an extra-class healer. Xenos said that such a fellow was indeed worth seeking out. He said that it was inefficient to pursue it blindly, however, and asked if there were any leads. The girl replied that there were. The hero noticed some people. These people were in the uniform of an Imperial healer, and in front of everyone was a man with a serious expression. Xenos asked who it was there. The girl replied that it was Professor Goldrin, the deputy director of the Imperial Healing Hospital and a 7th grade senior healer. The hero asked again about the 7th grade. Wamin explained that there were 3 levels of healers, each subdivided into 7 more, and he had the highest healer grade. Xenos said that one is an important big shot. The girl said that the current headmaster is already aged and often takes holidays, so the real power in fact and the professor. She said that since he became deputy director, the Imperial Hospital had changed somewhat, that they welcomed the rich with hospitality but blatantly discriminated against the rest of the patients. She said that Professor Goldrin paid more attention to politics than honing his skills as a healer. She said there were rumors that he had achieved his 7th class by successfully gaining the support of a major nobility. Xenos said it was best not to mess with such a thing. The girl said that on the contrary, he would need to get his attention. The hero was very surprised. Woman said that Professor Goldrin might be involved in Alfred's disappearance. She said that he collects talented subordinates, so he offered Alfred a transfer to his lab. The hero asked if Becca had authorized it. She replied that it seemed he owed him money for financing the consumption, and could not oppose. The girl said that a month after the transfer, Alfred disappeared. She said that no matter how many times she asked Professor Gorman, he kept saying he knew nothing, but they thought the matter was not clean. Xenos said he understood what she was getting at but asked how to approach him. She replied that there was no problem with that. Wamin said that if he proved himself on the program he would come out to him himself. The hero asked if it is not more difficult to divorce. The girl asked if he didn't realize his level. The one was puzzled. The guy turned to Wamin and asked what she was doing in the corner. She turned to him, calling him Crescent. The girl replied to him that she was free to eat wherever she wanted. Toth asked not to be angry and said he had come to express his approval that she had stayed at the side of their golden group. He asked about the hero, if it was a trainee from the special course. He told him to make sure that the recommender didn't have to blush for him. Xenos asked who he was. Wamin said he was a classmate of hers, but as soon as he joined Professor Goldrin, he turned up his nose. The hero said he went. The girl agreed. She said that if he behaved as usual, he would be all right. The lecturer said that the lecture was starting. Xenos thought about the course starting with a lecture for the servants. The instructor said that he specialized in healing for adventurers, that today's topic was the undead, and he would present the latest on the undead that roamed the world after death. He said that the undead include zombies, ghouls and ghosts, that today he would explain their characteristics and effective healing magic against them. The teacher turned to the students and asked if anyone had fought the undead. Crescent Wembley raised his hand and introduced himself, adding that he was from Goldrin's lab. He said that he had been going adventurer for several years where he easily defeated 30 ghosts. The other students were very surprised. He asked what about the trainee from the special course, turning round to look at Xenos. The latter was surprised. He said he could beat somewhere around 50 at a time. Crescent interjected in surprise. The instructor asked the hero to clarify his words. The hero said that there was nothing to explain, that there were many ghosts in the underground labyrinth, and one could apply united healing. He was asked if this was the same labyrinth of Galminton. Xenos replied that that was sort of what the labyrinth was called. The tutor said that it was a labyrinth not easily entered even by a gold-class squad, that only a few squads had managed to get the treasure safely in, and that he was exaggerating. The hero said that even he managed to return with 7 treasures. The teacher was shocked. Xenos could not understand what was wrong. Crescent turned to him. He said not to talk rubbish just to stand out. He asked what the other 50 ghosts were all at once. He said that if he did a practical program they would work out for themselves how good he was, adding that he should henceforth watch his words. The hero replied that he would take that into consideration. The next teacher drew a magic circle on the blackboard. He said that he specialized in healing magic circles, that a magic circle was a geometric cross pattern drawn by magic and its effectiveness depended on the shape. The teacher added a few details to the circle. Xenos was upset that he didn't know much about magic circles. The teacher asked which of the students would like to try their hand at drawing a circle. Crescent raised his hand and asked to be allowed to do so. He went out and drew a circle on the board. The teacher said it was a good job to draw in a short time and in such a way that there was almost nothing to redo. He asked the others for applause. Crescent pointed at Xenos and said that that trainee from the special course seemed to want to try it too. The hero wanted to refuse, but he had to go to the blackboard. The teacher said not to be shy and that he should use this opportunity to learn new things. Crescent said to embarrass himself. The hero took the chalk and thought about it. He remembered his mentor saying that he didn't need a magic circle. He said that it was essentially an aid, but it could come in handy, so it was not superfluous to know. He said he would show what he came up with in his spare time. He explained that the magic circle wouldn't work if drawn with insufficient magical power, and he thinks Xenos' power should be enough for that. The hero thought this would be a good way to kill time, and here's the one he came up with. He got a big, detailed, beautiful magic circle on the board. Crescent asked with a wry smile what the hell it was. The teacher shouted in shock about this magic circle. He shouted that it wasn't a simple magic circle. The effect of amplifying the infinite spiral is arranged on the sides of the world, and is it really regeneration? Xenos said that if you lose more than one finger, this thing regenerates one of them. The instructor asked in surprise if such a thing was theoretically possible. He said the potential for magical power is huge and people can't control it. The hero said that he could. The lecturer cried out in surprise. He said he could really feel the waves of magical power and asked who Xenos was. The instructor asked if Xenos could come to his lab. Crescent was very displeased. He wondered who the man even thought he was. The young man turned to Goldrin and said he had something to report. The man asked what it was. The boy said there was a rumor that there was a magician healer who had defeated 50 ghosts at a time. The professor asked if it was true. The fellow said that he had reported it himself. Gordon asked if the healer himself had simply proclaimed himself. The young man said that more than that, the one had also drawn a magic circle, which Associate Professor Faso had never seen. The professor asked him what his name was at least. The one said it was a special trainee Xenos. The professor asked again. He asked if the one thought they were suited for a person for a non-permanent position who had only settled in through recommendations. Suddenly someone came in, apologizing. It was a young woman. She said that a lot of zombies had been seen in Sura Cemetery. She said that there were so many of them that outside support was needed. Goldrin asked her to send someone and not to distract him with such nonsense from now on. The girl agreed and was about to leave, but the professor turned to her. He thought about the words about the student who was able to destroy 50 ghosts at once. He said that if it was true, he might consider taking him in. The boy agreed. Lily cried out asking if Xenos was going to go kill zombies. The guy replied that it looked like it. Camille said it was trouble. The hero said it was nothing to him. The girl said it was about zombies. She said that zombies gather in a graveyard and that doesn't usually happen. Camille wondered. She said that with an empty stomach there was no point in thinking and offered the hero something to eat. The man asked if Lily had cooked it. After tasting it, he said it was very tasty. Camilla asked if she could have more chicken and said that if Lily put carrots on her, she would curse her to the end of time. Ta said that was scary. Xenos said that Camille, on the other hand, could eat solid food. The girl replied that if she had enough spirit, she could eat anything. The hero said that it was getting harder to understand her origins. Women asked Xenos if he was leaving. Others discussed that it was strange that the special trainee was a guest, so they shouldn't send him to kill monsters. The hero said that he was told that it had already been decided by the people above. The girl hesitated and said that it was clear to her. She said that it looked like the Goldrunners had their eyes on him. Xenos asked if that was true, adding that he hadn't done anything that stood out. Woman said that he did stand out. She told him to just act normal. Crescent shouted that they were going. He told everyone that he was from Goldrun's lab and that he would be in command. Hero asked if he would be the leader. Woman said that since it was an emergency meeting, they couldn't find a healer higher in rank, so they gathered a team of young ones. The healers went to the graveyard. Crescent looked around and then said, "Here they are." There were ghosts and zombies in front of them. The guy looked determined. He shouted for everyone to attack and run after him. Woman shouted that we should hurry up. Xenos agreed. The healers were surrounded by ghosts. Using magic circles, they attacked the undead. The hero looked at them and said that they were killing one by one, two by two, and it was careful. Woman replied that maybe it seemed that way to him. The hero looked at the large number of healers. He thought about the fact that with that, the enemies were not getting smaller. He thought that there was more to the problem than that. One of the healers was touched by a ghost. One of the team shouted that if a ghost touched anyone, it would suck out all the life force. The other asked what they should do, asking the leader to do something. Crescent agreed. The healers gathered in a circle, with their backs to each other. Crescent shouted that there was no point in killing them one at a time, shouting for them to freeze. The undead were very close. He shouted for them to leave, but it didn't help. Xenos began to use magic. He used Supreme Heal on one of the zombies, after which it began to dissolve. All the undead were defeated. The healers were shocked. The hero said that thank goodness he had made it in time, and thanks to the fact that all the enemies had frozen, it was easier to deal with them. None of the monsters got to the healers. Xenos attacked them all. Woman thought she had just told him to attack as usual, but she didn't think it would come out like this. Crescent was shocked. Suddenly, he started laughing. He asked everyone if they had seen it, adding that it was nothing to him. Woman was puzzled. Everyone asked if he had done it and marveled. The girl said that Xenos had also done it. Crescent said that a special trainee was not capable of such a thing. She asked in what sense that was true. The hero said that was true, although he seemed to use magic as usual. Crescent said that it would be unpleasant if all his fame was appropriated by someone else, and to let everyone inform people from above soon. Woman became very angry. The boy asked why he was told to keep an eye on this trainee. Xenos heard this and asked what it meant to keep watch. The guy replied that simply put, he had no place here. The hero told everyone to stop. He said they weren't done with the zombies yet. Crescent looked ahead. Only monuments, grass, and fog were visible. Suddenly there was a thud, and something tore up the ground. Everyone looked up fearfully. Right in front of them was a giant-sized zombie. The monster howled, towering over the healers. Xenos said it was the Zombie King. Crescent didn't understand where such a monster was coming from. He shouted that they alone could not handle it, and they should call for people from above. The others agreed but asked if they could hold him down while they called. The man hesitated. One of the healers said he was in charge, asked if he could stop the zombies with healing magic as he had done recently. Woman shouted that they expected him, the elite of the Goldran Research Center, to do the same. The one didn't understand what to do. He looked fearfully at Xenos. Toth asked if Crescent wanted to tell him to stay out of his way. The boy fearfully replied that the latter was being clever. He shouted to the healers to call for help immediately, and that he would stop the zombie. Those shouted that they believed in him, that they relied on him. Crescent fearfully tried to force himself to be prepared for the consequences. Woman said he deserved it. The guy pointed the magic staff at the monster with a shout. He used the Supreme Heal, and a through hole was formed in the zombie. He rejoiced. Crescent started laughing and asked if the others had seen that everything came out with his magic. Turning around, he noticed that the hole in the zombie's stomach had tightened. The guy couldn't believe it. The monster swung at him, and he barely had time to jump away from the point of impact. The zombie's bony arm began to envelope the ground. It swung its fist, aiming for Crescent. The man dodged it and began to laugh. He wondered if everyone had seen it. He shouted to the zombie that he wouldn't lay a finger on him. Woman said that he was just running around the monster, and they were the only ones left here. She said that the source of the appearance of so many zombies was now clear. Xenos asked what it meant. The girl replied that ordinary zombies lure the stronger ones to them, especially in the cemetery, closer to the dead. The hero said that means the Zombie King is to blame. He asked why is Crescent being so passive with the zombies if he said he was able to defeat that bunch of zombies all at once. Wamin replied that it was because the man had lied. Xenos was very surprised and asked if it was true. The girl replied that there was no need to help him and let him better get a little of what he deserved. The hero smiled. He said that he was still worried about him. The girl replied that she thought so, since he had not gone to call for help. She said she thought that way they would at least pick up his bones since they were partners. The hero replied to her that she was very kind. Wamin said that, however, there was one problem. Woman said that Crescent is still not attacking the zombies, and is probably trying to buy time until help arrives. The hero said that's not good. He said that the longer the zombie king lives, the more the rotting meat takes root with him, thus making him stronger. He said that just buying time wasn't enough. Suddenly, the monster managed to hit Crescent with his fist. The guy flew backwards, hitting the ground. He screamed in pain, and getting up, he used a hill on himself. He said he was distracted and asked if it was over. The zombie was too close to him. He hit the healer again, knocking him back, and then took another blow from above. Crescent was in bad shape, and could not fully stand up. The monster began to pull his arm towards him. He managed to grab the guy in his fist. The guy was screaming loudly, asking to be let go. Wamin looked on fearfully. Crescent didn't understand what he should do. He came closer and closer to the zombie's mouth, and shouted loudly asking to be rescued. Xenos used magic. He pointed his hands at the monster and used a mega hill. The zombie began to dissolve with a shriek, and eventually, only bones were left lying on the ground. Wamin picked up the battered Crescent. The man grudgingly asked who asked to save him. The girl replied that it was himself, and that he was ready to cry. The boy shouted for her to shut up, covering her ears. Xenos apologized to him. He thought about the fact that zombies lure the stronger ones to them, and there must definitely be a higher class zombie here. Upon Xenos' return, Camille sneezed loudly. Lily asked if she was okay. Reyes wondered if it was also her fault. She said that she had long since seen the royal aura pouring. The girl shouted for the humans to fall down. She asked if they wanted to chase her away. Xenos replied that they were not, and one should think of the general safety. He said it would probably be better for her to be close to him. Lily was very surprised at this. Lily shouted that she had something to say too. She said that Xenos wants to be with the Reyes he hates, and he really is a strange man. Camille agreed. She said she would then go chill for a while. As she flew away, she giggled. Lily asked what would happen to Xenos' job now. He replied that it would be harder. He said he had no particular accomplishments. Meanwhile, Crescent knocked on the door. He was allowed to enter. Upon entering, he apologized. The young man in the office said that he had made a good contribution in exterminating the zombies. He said his name was Gord and he was the one who had recommended the boy to the teacher, and since he had made such a contribution, it meant that the special trainee had not lived up to expectations. Gord said he introduced the teacher to an extra person, and it was a mistake. Crescent reflected. He wanted to say something, and clenched his fist, gathering his thoughts. He said he might have been able to do it, but the special in turn wasn't bad either. The guy said that a bunch of zombies and a zombie king were actually defeated by Xenos. Gord asked what the guy was talking about. Crescent said it was true, and that he had seen it all with his own eyes. He asked him to excuse him, and ran out of the office. Gord hesitated. The guy, standing outside the door, thought he had repaid his debt to a special intern. At the same time, Dr. Becca cheerfully told Xenos that he had news that he had been called to Goldrun's lab. The hero asked if he had done something wrong. Ernard said he hadn't, and he was invited to join the group. Wamin was surprised and very happy. Becca said that it looks like the zombie extermination was noticed by Goldrun's lab. Xenos said he thought everyone assumed Crescent had done it. The man said he didn't know the details, but that the hero was called out it was true. He said that teacher Goldrun had many secretaries, and probably one of them recommended Xenos. Toth asked what that meant. Erdrin said that unfortunately, the interview with the teacher himself still remained. The hero was upset. Dr. Becca said that the teacher is the head of the highest faction of the Royal Hospital, and it is not easy to like him. Xenos said that these factions are very complicated. The man said that the professor is particularly strict about position and appearance, and it is said that he has the merits of a healer, but his magical energy is not great. He said that he singled out the professor's politics and the way he raised money, that there were rumors that he had achieved his position through significant financial investment and the support of 7 noble families with whom he was closely associated. Xenos hesitated. He said that the same supreme healer and asked if, as a special healer, he was not better than Goldrin in rank. Dr. Becker replied that unfortunately political rights and ranks are not comparable. He said that he was noted for discovering medicines, and was put in a special category, but his medicines were no different from anyone else's, so they were not so popular, and he might even be called the weakest healer. He said that among the other special healers, there were many other interesting individuals, and if given the chance, he would like Xenos to meet them. The latter replied that he was interested, but that he had no time. He was asked to go since he had been summoned. The hero agreed. Erdrin wished him good luck. Vuman said that Xenos would probably be fine. Dr. Becca agreed. He said not to worry about his skills, but Teacher Goldrin is actually very fond of suspecting people, and that alone is a disadvantage. The girl asked if the man could suspect the hero. The man replied that one should prepare to escape if the hero gets burned. Wamin replied that one does not laugh at such a thing. Erdrin said that he had made a bet on Xenos. He suggested that the girl had faith in him.